All right, video good? Okay. All right, we're going to call the Board of Education meeting to order, and we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. George, will you lead us in the pledge, please?
The flag's above us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we appreciate everybody joining us by video for the most part tonight because of the COVID-19 restrictions. And we appreciate you bearing with us because we've got this mic, these mics and different setups and so on and so forth. But again, appreciate everybody joining us by video here. All right, first thing we need to do is approve the agenda, and I would like to remove item number 14. And if we could move number 17 to the action agenda, making it number 33. That's what I would like if no one has any objections to it.
Would you repeat that one more time, please?
I want to remove item 14.
You need a motion on that, Mr. Chairman?
Probably for both. And then move number 17 from the information section to action and make it number 33.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the agenda with the removal of item number 14 and the relocation of item number 17 from information to action.
Okay, we got a motion. Do we have a second? Second. All right, before we vote, did anyone have any questions before we vote on it? Okay, then we've got a motion and a second, so all in favor?
Aye.
All right, any opposed? I think that was unanimous. Okay, thank you. All right. Recognitions. You have anything here, Dr. Hill? My papers have gotten out of order.
No recognition.
Well, anybody here to? All right. I have one that I need to do, but I'm going to have to pull it up on my email, so I'll get it at the end. We had an ROTC instructor that was very much recognized by a parent here, and I just want to say something about it. But I'll get a chance. I'll get it up on the email, and we'll do that. Okay, public comments. Alex, do you have a list for us?
Sure. We'll get that list in a second. We've actually got to go through some other public comments first. Obviously, we opened up the phone line for folks to come in. This is kind of not everybody's name. We don't have the correct spellings of those yet. We're going to get that. But this is kind of a little diagnostic real quick. We have 37 voicemails to go through this evening. And there are a couple on there you'll notice. We've got 3 that come from the same phone number and have a very similar voice. They just say a different name each time. And we also have a female caller who does the same thing. Same phone number, different first name each time, no last name. We can't prove it's a different person, but we want to make sure that we play it even though we think it might be the same person twice. So I will start with Allie Artman.
Well, before we do,
Sure.
We've got some people here in person that I think want to do it as well.
Would you like to do that first?
Mr. Chairman, I'd rather those that are out here.
Yeah, let's.
We can do that.
If we could do that, let's get them first in case
I just
they.
wanted to make sure we had enough time to get them all signed up. So let me
Oh,
go check.
okay.
Let me go check and make sure they've got them all signed up real quick.
Okay. Well, if not, we can go ahead and get started though. If you've got some that are signed. Yes. Yeah, I just had. It's not on my screen here. I've got a. Would you say something about it? I sent it to everyone, I think. Did y'all get a copy
I
of
did.
it? Good.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, thanks. Alex, the rules that we always read about it, does anyone have them on paper?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's
It's on
on
your
the-
agenda.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's,
I got to get these papers got straight here, and I haven't get it straight there. Oh, yeah, it's right in front of me. In this case, Alex,
send the first one in.
Okay, who's the first one?
Whoever signed up first on the list out there.
The list is not on the sharing one.
The list went outside. Yeah.
Dr. Hill, I got a text. Your microphone is not working or they can't hear you on YouTube.
Alex, will someone? Most of the group, they're standing outside of the
Yeah,
building,
they're
right?
outside the. Yeah.
Okay.
So we're bringing them in one at a time.
Will somebody?
Yeah, we're
Will
good.
one of y'all tell everybody what the rules are, like we normally do here, so
Yeah.
we don't have to repeat it to
Yeah, that's
everyone?
no problem. That's no problem. I'll go out there and do that right quick.
And if you've got the sign-in sheet, you can go ahead and send one in if
Yeah.
you want to. We'll
Yep.
get started.
You should have somebody waiting on deck, so that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Test, test, test.
I'm going out there.
How's that? Test, test, test.
You have to come to this microphone right here.
Yeah.
Test, test. You getting it, Chuck?
Yes.
You are going to be live on YouTube. YouTube famous.
You're welcome.
All right. Did Alex tell you the procedure that we do since you're the first?
Okay.
I'll tell you then. They usually go 3 minutes to try to keep it with that, and make sure not to forget anything here. I'll read it the proper way. It says, the Pender County Board of Education welcomes comments from our parents, students, and community. The open session for public comment is designed for the Board of Education to listen and respond at a later time if necessary. Comments should be limited to 3 minutes. So, pretty much what I just said.
Okay.
But go ahead.
Okay. I appreciate y'all listening to everybody tonight. My issue, and what I'm hoping that you will reconsider.
At the outset, could just state your name for the record.
Oh, sure. My name's Leanne Gerganis. I have a daughter that is graduating at Pender High School. So what I would like for y'all to reconsider is more options for graduation. Specifically outdoor options. I've realized that we have been hearing a lot about, well, if we do something for Pender High School, we're going to have to do same thing at Trask, or we're going to have to do the same thing at Topsail, and I just don't think that's fair. There have been many opportunities that have not been offered to my daughter because she goes to Pender High that are offered to Topsail because it is a bigger school and there are more people. They have more classes that are available. We are small. That we have jumped the gun on the plan that we have. I think we've rushed into it. I think we're forcing it to happen too soon. You are asking people to come to the school during a regular work day, and I don't think it's fair. You know, we're trying to get back to work, and you're, asking us a week and a half in advance to come and, take time off of work to watch our children graduate with a limited number of people. We have always had a limited number of people at Pender High that could come to our graduations. That I get. Some of the other schools have not. They have not had a limited number. So, I think that if you could just, listen to a few of these other options for outdoors, we can make it work. That's it.
Okay.
And I would be more than happy to help plan anything. Just let me know. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, do we have actual number of graduates from each school that I know she had said how many from Pender High, but do we have how many from Heidi Trask? Do you have that number available?
Do you know, Dr. Hill?
Give me a minute. I can get you exact figures here.
Okay, thank you.
That is on sweet tea. I think that.
Hi.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Claudette Sowers. My daughter Clarissa Sowers attends Pender Early College. We're expecting 2 graduations this year, from early college as well as from Cape Feed. She's my second daughter to come through the Pender County system, who also went to early college and graduated, and has since got her 4-year degree. For me as a mom, this is a big accomplishment for my girls. For them as students, and to go through this and struggle and work so hard to say their graduation comes down to walking across the stage and just having your picture taken. It's been hard, especially after all this area has gone through with Florence being displaced. To have her graduation taken, it's hard for her. And this is not a time they're going to get back. I understand the social distancing, but as a Pender County as a whole, we have a lot of areas that we have a lot of open space in. Football fields, big areas around the school. Kids can be spread out and allowed to still have a graduation. It does not have to be a 2-3 hour graduation, just something small to say, I have gone through these 12 years with most of these kids that are in my class, and we're going to end it together. Because as students, this is it for them. A lot of them are going in different directions. They may keep in touch with Facebook, Twitter, and all this, but it's not going to be the same as sharing that last moment on stage with them and turning that tablet. So I think as students, they deserve that right, even if, like I said, it's a small ceremony. Her class is 60 kids. It's not going to take much to put them in an area. Pender High is like 110, I hear. I mean, if we're spreading them out over 3 days to do a graduation virtually, what's the difference in spreading them out to do a small ceremony? I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, members of the board, for allowing us this time. I'm representing Trask High School.
Excuse me, could you state your name for the record, please?
And my name is Tim Merritt.
Thank you.
So the proposal that I would like for you guys to consider is that this parking lot here, excuse me. Our parking lot can hold 494 parking spaces, 494 total in the white lines, and then have one on the outside perimeter. We have a total of 161 graduates, and that means we can have each graduate have 3 vehicles per student. So our proposal is to build a stage right here, okay? And then the cars can come in and park at the parking signs, in the parking lot, in the spaces. The principal, whoever's going to announce the ceremony, we can transmit his voice into the vehicle on FM radio with a transmitter. As the kids are coming in, they can be staged on the bleachers on this area. They can come in, go over the stage, come around, and then a football field we can have and be in compliance with the COVID-19. We can have 780 students comply within the 50-yard line, which we don't have that many students. So naturally, we can space them out more than 6 feet here when we're done graduating. And then when they're all finished, they can come back out to the vehicle. All the vehicles can come around and go out in that direction. This would be compliant with the COVID-19. The students that I've been really involved in and talking to a lot, the main thing that they're feeling like is that once their voices have not been heard, but their main thing is they want to be with their peers. They don't want to be robotic. And I feel like, we could get masks for them. I don't know what your budget, do we have a budget for Trask? Does anybody have a budget number?
No.
Not right in front of us.
Okay, well, I can tell you this. Tim's Heating and Air be willing to donate the stage, okay? I know enough people or our parents, men can build this stage to the code where it'll meet with the principal, vice principal can come in, the students can come in and pick up their diploma. Also, if it did, we want to move this thing to mid-June and not do it so early, and that way we could prepare a lot more thorough. If it did fall in at nighttime, I got United Rental would donate lighting. I've got porta potty people that would give us under 50%. We could have porta potties set right here. So I feel like I would appreciate to really take this in consideration. Does anybody have any questions in regards to this layout?
I think you've talked to several of us, I think, and
Yes.
good.
I have spoke with you guys. If not, my number is 910-604-1485. I'd be willing to help set this thing up. I don't know if we set it up and you want to share Pender. I don't want to speak for Pender because they may have their own ideas. But I feel like this will be a good method to do so we wouldn't have to come back and all the peers and everybody be together. Thank you for your time.
Okay.
Thanks, Tim.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Would you like for me to leave this?
Can we do that, Richard, with public comment?
If you wipe it down, yeah.
Very important.
And I know you only have 3 minutes, Mr. Tim, so you have all our emails if there's anything else that comes to your mind.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
If maybe somebody can drop it off in my office.
Good.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Whoa. Okay.
Hi. Sure, go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Brooke Pacheco, and I am a senior from Topsail High School. Some of you have already heard from me, and I'm here regarding the class of 2020's graduation. I am asking that you wait until June to make a final decision about our graduation and to see how the phases play out. I understand that some people have immediate plans after our graduation date. However, I am asking that y'all wait to decide the fate of our graduation, and thank you for your time and consideration, and I hope you make the right choice for us.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Cody Wallace. First off, I'd like to thank everybody for gathering here to be able to let us voice our opinions. Again, I'm a senior at Topsail High School. Again, I want to thank you for, at first, making us able to have somewhat of graduation. I know some counties and states are not having any graduation at all. I do believe, and this is coming from the voices of other seniors, families, and friends at all these Pender County schools, that we would like to have a better graduation. I believe as we let time go by and all these phases go by, as Roy Cooper has recommended, that we will have a better chance to socially gather, although keeping distance. According to Landon Furr, who helped construct the math equations, he said that if all the seniors were to gather at the football fields, which every high school does in this county, they have an open high school field, if every senior were to gather in their field, then we could still have 12 feet apart. And I believe this would be a good solution to having a graduation. Now, you do not have to follow my plan, but I do believe a good solution would be to be able to give this more time before making a decision. And thank you very much for your time.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
That's everybody.
That's it? Okay. All right. Let's go ahead with the audio if you've got it.
All right, so first up is Ali Artman. Oh, hold on one second. I'll put my mic back on. First up is Ali Artman.
Hi, I'm Ali Artman, and I'm a graduating senior at Topsail High School. And I just wanted to express that the current graduation plan is not something I will be looking forward to, because I have always been looking forward to graduating together as a whole class and not separate.
All right. Next up is Arciela Figueroa.
My name is Araceli Figueroa. I love this idea and applaud Pender County Schools for coming up with it. My daughter, Maria Figueroa, is a senior at Happy Trust High School and will also be calling to let her voice be heard on how much she agrees with this idea. During this time, this is a far better option than I have seen other counties do. I love the idea of being able to see my daughter walk the stage. She is my first child graduating, and considering everything that's going on, this is the best option. I would hate not to see my daughter walking the stage. Yes, it would be great for all of them to be together as a group, but at this time, what safer option is there?
Okay. Next is Ashley Martin.
Hey, my name's Ashley Martin, and I think that we should wait until later after all the corona stuff is over. And I'm a senior, and I think we should wait till all the corona stuff is over and have a normal, regular graduation so that all my friends and family can see it. And yeah, that's my opinion. Thank you.
All right, here is the next one. This one also came from Ashley's phone, but there's a different name.
Hi, my name is Destiny, and I think, and I'm a senior at Topsail High. I think that we've all worked so hard, and we just deserve a normal graduation just like everybody else. I think we should wait till Corona is over, and we should have all of our friends and family come down, because graduation is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and we've all worked so hard for it. We all want our friends and family to be there, to see us, and support us, and yeah, that's my opinion. Thank you.
All right, next is Beth Pacheco.
Brooke Pacheco. Hi everyone, my name is Brooke Pacheco and I am a senior from Topsail High School. It is to my understanding that no decisions have yet been made regarding the class of 2020's graduation. I, as well as many other seniors, do not feel that a virtual graduation is sufficient enough for all of our hard work over the past 13 years. I personally will not participate in the virtual graduation if the traditional graduation is at all possible. However, to accommodate those who will be beginning their lives after we were supposed to graduate, and the seniors are promised a real graduation later in the summer, I will participate in both. Therefore, after North Carolina completes the phases necessary and we are able to congregate again, I am willing to wait for a later date in the summer to have the graduation. I appreciate the board chair and superintendent for responding to my email about graduation, and I look forward to hearing what the board decides for the class of 2020. Thank you all for your time.
All right, next is Brenda Boone.
Yes, my name is Brenda Boone.
I have a student at Topsail High School in Hampton. I would really appreciate it if y'all would reconsider moving the date back for the graduation, moving it back some, and then probably checking into like Greenville Amphitheater or Legion Stadium or an outside source where people could stand way apart from one another, and the kids could be 6 feet apart from one another coming onto the stage wherever you desire to have it. And let these kids have their graduation together. It really is a very important time in their life, and it would be really, really nice if y'all would reconsider and find another alternative for these children to have the graduation. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
All right, next is butcher's last name, Bruce Milagrease.
Hello, my name is Bruce Miglorisi. I'm the father of twin seniors in Pender County. It is my opinion, as well as my wife and that of my two daughters, that a virtual graduation is not something that my daughters are interested in, due to the fact that all of their senior year experiences were taken away due to this COVID-19. My girls want an actual graduation, even if it means waiting 6 to 8 more weeks. This is a once-in-a-lifetime experience that my daughters don't want to miss out on. They want to graduate with all of their senior class and friends. Our COVID numbers are extremely low compared to other more populated areas. If masks and social distancing guidelines are in place, with, of course, limited guests, then there's no reason we shouldn't give our seniors their graduation that they deserve. Thank you for listening.
All right, next up is Carol Pyratel.
Good evening. Carol Priatel, mother of Anthony Priatel, graduating senior. I would like to see them possibly at a later time be able to be with all their classmates and graduate together. There was a suggestion or something I read stating that perhaps Thanksgiving or Christmas break, when all the children are back from their colleges. It just is really a shame that that can't be done now, but it's possible, it's any way possible at a later date. I think that would be great. Thank you.
All right, next is Carrie Bailey.
Hi, my name is Carrie Bailey. My daughter, Cecilia Bailey, is a senior at Topsail High School, and I would just like to express my hope that we're able to delay the graduation ceremony and actually have something later this year, more than just the 5 minutes that has been allotted in the proposed plan. My husband and I both are looking at to still be working, and so unfortunately the time slot we've been given is right in the middle of the day, which means we would have to try and figure out how to get time off with a week's notice. So, and I just really would like to honor our daughter in a little more than 5 minutes. I understand the situation we're in is difficult for everybody, but if there's an option, my vote is definitely to delay and have something worthwhile later in the future where we can really all get together and celebrate. I appreciate everything you're doing. Thank you.
Alex, can you pause it?
Sure.
A minute. We've got 3 or 4 more outside that missed the sign up that would like to speak, and I told them they could.
Sure.
Can we go ahead and do them?
Sure, absolutely. Is the sheet already out there with them?
I told them that we would get them when I told them we were doing this now, and
that'll work.
I get Dr. Blumenreich. Would you let Mr. LaFawn know to get the speakers to come in? There's a couple of speakers outside that were going to come in. Mr. LaFawn knows about it.
You asked about graduates earlier. Pender High School, 124 at this time. Heidi Trask, 165.
Steve, can you speak up?
Pender High School, 124. Heidi Trask, 165.
Topsail High is 344.
344, Topsail High, and Pender Early College.
I didn't get it yet, sorry.
Okay.
One more time on those.
60, I think they have in the 60s on.
Yeah, that'll be max. It should be
Okay.
60. That's
She
all they have
referenced
in grade.
65 a while ago.
I had a parent call me today who said 68. So
So 124 Pender High School,
It's in a normal class, so that sounds
Yeah.
like some kids carrying over this year. or graduating.
Now, Alex, I think that will be everyone in person.
But I'll find out. The good news is they're seeing it, so they're sending it to me without asking.
We, did they tell you the way that we do this? Okay, well, this 3 minutes, about 3 minutes is how we usually do it. So, all right, just state your name for the record, please, and then whatever you
Okay.
got to say, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Faith Lana, and I'm here to represent the seniors of Pender High School. What all of us want is our field graduation. Our field is big enough and our stadium is big enough to have everybody sit at least 6 feet apart, as social distancing guidelines are. And it gives us a chance to all be together. We've all gone through so much together, and having one person go at a time isn't special, emotional, but it is really heartbreaking, and this is what all of us want to see. We have people leaving for the military, so if we push it back for our class, it's not going to work, because then they won't be able to graduate. We only have 110 seniors graduating, and we're a 1A school, so I really feel like it will be so much easier and better for everybody, and it will please everybody if we have the field graduation. That's it.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
Steve, what were those numbers for the schools?
124 for Pender, 165 for Trask, 344 for Topsail, between 60 and 70 for Pender Early College.
Okay, thanks.
Well, I think most of us know you anyway, but state your name for the record.
How are y'all doing tonight? All right. I am Angela Blake, and I am representing here on behalf of Pender High School, our class of 2020. I have a rising, well, she is now a senior. In less than 5 months, she will be heading off to college. So with that being said, I want all of y'all to remember what your graduation day was. What did you do? What did you enjoy on your graduation? It wasn't walking across the stage. It wasn't the atmosphere in getting here. It was spending that day with your friends and enjoying the last few minutes you had with your hometown. We have several students that will be heading off in the military, so they will not be here for these later celebrations that we have. We believe that there's some events that are being rushed just due to trying to meet the time capacity and the restraints of what we're being given by our upper government. Our graduates just want to graduate with their friends. They just want to be a part of something greater, something bigger, and something together. Options. Please consider our outdoor facilities, our football fields. We are allowed to go to the grocery stores, the beaches. Why can't we utilize our facilities? If you're worried about lawsuits, have each one of us sign a waiver. Everybody out there in that parking lot will sign a waiver saying we are not holding Pender County Schools liable. We understand the risk, just like I understand the risk if I go to Walmart and go grocery shopping or anything like that. With that being said, please take in our considerations, and thank you, and y'all have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
'64 at Early College. 64 at
Hello everyone, my name is Maggie Smith and I'm here speaking for the graduating class at Topsail High School.
And I would like to first thank everyone here for trying to make us have a graduation, because I know there are many places that aren't having a graduation, but I believe that there is a way that we can have a graduation somewhere else where we can all be together, because I know a bunch of my peers and I, one of our biggest things besides getting a diploma is actually graduating with us, with our loved ones and our friends that we've been through this 12 years with. And I think this is able to happen by going on the football field. Even if we move into phase 2 and phase 3, we can have the proper safety precautions set forth on the football field, such as having masks if we have to. One of my friends, he did the calculations to where you can be 12.5 feet apart from each other with every student being on the football field. And we can even so the school and county does not get sued if someone gets sick, that everyone and every student has to sign a liability form for their loved ones to come and watch them, so it can be protected, and we could go and sign in like we have a station, like you guys have already prepared for us. We can have a station and we stop at, and we make sure that we have a liability form signed and we are ready to graduate. And I know this is really important to me, so I hope that you guys take this in consideration and we could possibly have a graduation with everyone, even in these tough times. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Was there anyone else in personalities?
I think that was it.
That's okay. All right, we'll go ahead on with the audio then.
All right, next up is Cecilia Langston.
Yeah, this is Cecilia Langston, and this is regards to the senior class of 2020. My opinion is to have it on the football field, 6 feet apart, invite, family members. The other option is maybe wait and see if they would release the band from Governor Cooper, so then wait and have it later on. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, next up is Danny Farrow.
Hello, my name is Danny Farrow. I'm a senior at Topsail High School. I'm not happy with the current plan, if that is actually the plan. I worked all year to get off the weekend of June 12th so that I knew that I would be home. I travel internationally and have worked it out so that I would be home for that particular time frame, not during May. So I'm real disappointed that I would miss my son's graduation. I hope that we can continue down the path of in-person graduation on June the 12th. I'm not for the taped event as described on the website. So thank you for all your hard work, and I truly appreciate it, but I believe our seniors deserve more. Thank you.
All right, next is Debbie Gutch.
Hi, my name is Debbie Gutch, and first of all, I just want to thank you guys for your time and effort in this matter. I know that this is time and it's not been easy. One thing I would love to see is for the graduation to be pushed out further. I think having something next week is very, very quick. I would love to see something in June. Of course, the idea would be to wait until we could have a regular graduation, but I really don't see that happening. So a later date, and then also a caravan parade type thing. We could decorate our cars and caravan and have a parade around the school or in some designated path where we could all be together and feel the excitement of being together. Or possibly something like the military has done where they're all on a field separated 6 feet apart, but parents are not there. I think the kids just want to be together and feel the excitement. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it, and I'll be praying for your decision. Thanks. Bye.
right, next up is Emily Miglieres.
Hi, this is Emily McClure, and this is for the public comment at the May 12, 2020 board meeting. This is regarding graduation. Since the coronavirus has hit us, I think that it's unfair that we've gotten prom taken away. Our senior walk, senior breakfast, really anything senior related, and I think the least that you guys could do is let us have a graduation. I don't think really any of the seniors would mind waiting a couple months because it's the really only time that we get to all be together. It's the last time for the senior class. And we're all, our family gets to celebrate us. It's a really exciting thing. We don't get to experience that and just do it on the computer. It's really sad. Thank you.
All right, next is Jennifer Thigpen.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Thigpen. I have a senior at Heidi Trask High School this year. I'm mainly calling just first of all, I want to thank you guys for doing all that you can do under the circumstances we're all facing right now. My other issue, I guess, is that I don't understand why graduation was moved up a month early. I mean, there could have been things that could have been listed in that month where we could have maybe had a different graduation besides a virtual sixth group graduation. It's just really sad. I have two family members that are so close and they can't go because we have a limit of 6. And this is something that he's worked so hard for. He was a preemie and we've had struggles, and so this was a big accomplishment for him. And now it's just kind of been overshadowed by this pandemic, and it's no one's fault. But I just feel like there's something else that could be done somehow if we all work together. You know, there's these great ideas going around about a drive-through graduation, or what about the football field where we could do it in a 2-day spread, gatherings that are smaller but 6 foot apart? Just something can be done, it seems like, besides what's going on now. And we get these phone calls about nothing's just set in stone, but yet our schools have already called us at Heidi Trask and told us what days and how to be there next week for graduation. So we're all confused. The graduates are already confused, and a lot of them are depressed. I know my son has kind of gone through that, and I've tried to keep his spirits up, but this is a hard time for all of them, and now to have this overshadowing their most important milestone at their age they're experiencing right now, it's just so sad. And I just pray there's something that we can come up with and do that's a little bit better than what they're looking at having done now as far as the graduation. So please consider something that can honor them a little bit more special than a virtual graduation. Thank you so much for your time.
All right, next up is Jody Artman.
Hello, my name is Jody Artman. I live in Hampstead, North Carolina, and I would like to make a comment on the current situation with the plan for graduation for our seniors. I have a graduating senior at Topsail High School, and I would like to express my concern about the plan of having a virtual graduation. I feel that that is not fair to our seniors and that they deserve better. I believe that students should be represented at these plans for their graduation. After all, it is their graduation, and I would like to know, or to express my concern, that not enough options have been discussed before the current plan has gone through. Thank you very much.
All right, next up is Katie Furr.
Hi, this is Katie Furr. I'm with Topsail High School. My son is Landon Furr there, and I'm calling on behalf of him and a lot of the students at our school and family. We've got some great ideas, safe ideas, and the main key here is the numbers in our county are not the same everywhere else. And we would really like Governor Cooper to understand we can go county to county. And the idea that we have that I brought up with a lot of the students is the football field is amazing. It is perfect. We can have a 12 by 12 square for the size of our students, which is double than 6 by 6. parents and siblings, or just the parents can be in attendance. This is about them. This is not about us. We just want to see our kids on that field together, having a great time, smiling, and people taking pictures. We can hire people to take pictures, whatever it takes. This is about them. If masks need to be worn, they can be worn. Sanitation stations can be set up. We can have it at 9 in the morning so we can avoid heat. We can have tents for the disabled. We can have sign a digital waiver for the school so they're not responsible. Or you don't participate. If you're scared, don't come. Go to the school and pick up your diploma. I did that for my firstborn, and he was plenty happy. But the majority of these students deserve to be out in a field or in a parade or something that's different and fun that they will remember for the rest of their lives. The senior class has a fund. They have money that can help with all the things that we need. If we need to borrow chairs or buy chairs, whatever it takes. All 3 schools should have a senior fund for their proms and graduation. So when people say it can't be done, it truly can be done. There is nothing impossible when parents and family members get together to make things happen for their kids. We can move mountains. And I pray that you will take this into consideration. Please read our children. They're writing amazing letters. And just know that this can be done. We're in the same storm, but we are not in the same boat. Pender County has showed that. And, if beaches can be open, there is no reason why we cannot have a graduation ceremony for these students of 2020. So I appreciate you. I thank you for all of your hard work. But please remember that it is possible to do this. And it's possible for everyone to be safe as we do this. The U.S. Air Force has done it. The people in Texas are tearing up the football fields, and they are having graduation. And we can do that too. And Topsail High School will help the other schools, whatever it takes. We want our students to be safe and have a graduation.
All right. Kaylee Queen.
Hi, my name is Kaylee Queen. I'm a senior at Topsail High School. I think that graduation should be put off until after the corona so we can all graduate together. I feel like we've worked really hard for this, and it's like a dream almost, and I think that we should all be able to graduate with each other. And I don't think that we should be graduating before the end of the school year, so we don't just push it. I think we should just wait and see what happens. Thank you.
All right, next up is Lino Figueroa. He apologizes. Mr. Figueroa said that he felt if he left a voicemail that his accent would be muddled and you wouldn't be able to understand him, so he sent a message in to be read. He says, "My name is Lino Figueroa. My daughter, Maria Figueroa, is a senior at Heidi Trask High School. Thank you for making this graduation ceremony happen. She is my oldest and first daughter to graduate. I am so glad I will still be able to see her get her diploma in person. I know this will be a long and different process, so thank you very much for making this possible. Most would not even bother to make this happen, but I am so grateful Pender County Schools is going beyond what I have seen other counties do. Thank you so much." Next up is Lori Townsend.
Hi, this is Lori Townsend, and I'm a senior at Topsail High School, and I would like for the graduation plan to continue as you have planned it to be in the next couple weeks. I would definitely like my senior to at least have some kind of graduation rather than waiting and hoping that they would be able to have a traditional graduation in August and find out that they can't because Corona continues. I appreciate your time. Thank you. Bye.
All right, next up is Maria Figueroa.
My name is Maria Figueroa, and I am a senior at Heidi Trask High School. I love the idea of being able to walk on the stage while my family watches. I have gone to school these past 12 years, and I am the first child to graduate, so it means everything to my parents to see me walk the stage. I am first year thanks to them, and at this time, this is the only way for them to see me walk on the stage, so I would be devastated if I cannot do that. I thank you, Pender County Schools, for telling me others if I do.
All right, next up is Melanie Jordan.
Good evening. My name is Melanie Jordan, and my daughter Brooke Pacheco is a senior at Topsail High School. Being a lifelong resident of this area, and Brooke being a third-generation senior at Topsail High, we are big on tradition, and part of that tradition is having a proper graduation. If you look closely in the building of the Hampstead Annex, where the old Topsail School originally was, you will see a plaque engraved on the front of the building, circa 1925. There you will find a list of school board members that was passed for building a school on this side of the county. One name in particular stands out to my family, Woodman F. Atkinson, my great-grandfather. I would like to think that he, along with the other members, would listen to members of the community, the parents, and more importantly, the seniors, as to what kind of graduation they would like to have. I am requesting that the board and superintendent reconsider the current plan for graduation. I ask that you wait until June to make a decision. There are other options than the one that was sent out last week. Hold graduation to end of June. Have it in July. Wait until the restrictions have been lifted. Our seniors deserve to have a proper graduation where they can all be together to celebrate their accomplishments with families and with friends. They have worked so hard to reach this milestone in their lives. So much has been taken away from them. Prom, senior walk, senior night for sports, back in art, to name just a few. Please give them the one thing left, a graduation where they can all be together. Thank you.
All right, next up is Michelle Pyers.
Hi, my name is Michelle Pyers. My suggestion for graduation is that the kids social distance on the football field all together. And if parents have to, they can watch in the car. It can be broadcast over radio with a live screen there so we can watch. Honk and beep when they go, and at least they can have that together experience. If they can be on the beach and the park, they can be on a field separated by distance. Thank you.
All right, next up is Robert Lee.
Hi, my name is Michelle Pyers.
Sorry about that. Wrong one. This is Robert Lee.
Hello, my name is Robert. My daughter is a senior at Heidi Trask. I'm very disturbed about this graduation policy. Y'all say that nothing's been decided. Trask is calling us and telling us our daughter's graduation is scheduled in the auditorium for the 18th. This plan does not work for seniors. This is not a one-size-fits-all. You need to listen to the community. Have it out on the football field, spaced the seniors 6 feet apart. Put the families in the stands, spaced, and make everybody wear masks. Y'all are not listening to the public. You talk to the principal, he tells you one thing at Trask, and y'all say something different. Plus, it is a shame that every other senior in Pender County has posters in Walmart, signs in front of their house, and Trask's principal has done nothing for the seniors at all. This is a disgrace. New Hanover County is doing something for their seniors as well. This is your last chance to listen to us as parents of seniors to change the graduation to June and quit rushing to get these kids out. Listen to us. Our plan is the football field with seniors spread 6 feet apart, which would be easy, and then the families in the stands spaced out with requirement of everybody with a mask. Your proposal is unsafe having people going in confined spaces. It will transmit the virus more. But y'all have to listen to us as parents and seniors, and you're not. It sounds as if the decision has already been made by what Trask is sending to people, and that is unheard of. Please, listen to our seniors and do the right thing. This is your last chance. They don't want that type of graduation. Again, Trask is saying one thing, and the leadership at Trask is telling people different things. So this is your last chance as the board to do what is right and listen to us parents and listen to these senior graduates and give them what they want in this unprecedented time of a pandemic. Thank you.
All right, next up, the caller identifies himself as Mike. However, it comes from Robert Lee, who you just heard's phone.
Hello, my name is Mike. Y'all are having a board meeting tonight about graduation. I have a son that goes to Trask, and I'm disappointed that I called the Trask principal, and he had told us when the graduation was, there was nothing he could do. And today, just a few minutes ago, I received a phone call saying that his graduation was already set for the 18th. But yeah, y'all are telling us nothing has been decided. So what is going on here? This is wrong. This one-size-fits-all does not work for smaller schools like Trask or Pender High, who can have graduations on the football field with their students spread out 6 feet apart, with plenty of rooms in the stands to separate families during social distancing and to require them to all wear a mask. You're trying to put all of our kids at Pender High and Trask in these auditoriums one at a time, and you're not protecting them.
First time they went beyond 3 minutes.
In a closed environment.
Can you pause?
Again, I'm very disturbed.
What were you saying?
This is his second comment. First comment went beyond 3 minutes. This is his second comment, and he's identified himself as somebody else. If the board wants to hear it, you can, but you don't have to.
How do we need to handle that? Vote on it to hear it or no?
I just let him go. He should be done soon.
The next comment is also from the same phone number, but identifies himself as Chris.
I have no way to know it's not Chris.
Yeah.
Or Robert, or Alan,
Yeah.
or Mike, or Jerry.
Okay.
Let's hear it.
That nothing is said yet, but the Pender High School is already telling students these are your graduation times and when to be there, and these kids have work schedules. You're piling this up on them at the last minute. This is very shameful. I hope y'all will listen to us parents and do the right thing and give our seniors a graduation in June on the football field and not in an unsafe environment in an auditorium. Please listen, because the election year is coming, and we can vote all of y'all off the board if y'all don't listen to what us parents want. Thank you.
All right, and this one is identified as Chris, but also from Robert Lee's phone.
Hello, my name is Chris, and I'm calling about this graduation for all Pender County seniors. I have a senior graduating as well here in Pender County. The plan you currently have at Heidi Trask, shuffling them in and out of the auditorium, does not meet COVID standards. Did you know that to test drive a car, that after one person test drive, that car has to be thoroughly sanitized and cleaned and waited 4 hours before the next person can drive it? Are you aware that every shopping cart in Walmart and Food Line are being wiped down before the next person can use it? Are you aware that Walmart Lowe's is full of hundreds of people, but yet you're shuffling people in and out of an auditorium? You have no plan to sanitize after each person. You need to listen to the seniors and do an outdoor graduation in June where you can separate them on football fields by 6 feet. This is important for you to listen to your seniors. You are not following social guidelines as you say you are. You are trying to push these seniors out, for whether it be liability reasons or not. The current plan you have is not a one-fit-all plan by the state for every county. Each school is different and needs to be looked at different, and the sizes of the Pender County high schools could easily be accommodated on the football fields and in the stands by requiring everyone in the stands to wear a mask and 6-foot social distancing. Please listen to our seniors and do not do this auditorium plan. They do not want it. This is your opportunity. They have already missed awards days, prom, senior day.
Can you pause that, Alex?
Yes, sir.
How long is this call?
There's
been on
another
so far? Are we
about
timing these calls?
18 seconds left.
Okay.
Chance to give these seniors one thing they have all worked so hard to accomplish in their goals, and this is the only time some of them will ever have a graduation. Not all go to college. Don't miss the boat on this. Listen to the people. Thank you.
All right, next up is Ruthie Seal.
Hi, it's Ruthie Seal. This is for my daughter, who's being this year. And the only thing I'd like to do is just whatever you all design, just make sure that everybody stays safe. Like, I would love for you to do something to honor these kids. I know my daughter said to me, she's like, Mom, we didn't realize that our last day of school was our last day, and we never got to say goodbye. So I don't know if the ceremony will be like the final chapter for them or not, but it would be nice as long as, you know, you can do it, people are safe. And thanks so much for at least considering how you can, you know, basically wrap these kids senior year up. Thanks so much, bye.
Next up is Sarah Newman.
Hi, my name is Sarah Newman. My daughter is a senior at Heidi Trust, and I'm a little confused in regards to what exactly is happening, because originally it was said that the 13th we would get a date or the time for either the 18th or the 19th. Today I received a phone call from the assistant principal at Heidi Trust High School saying that Kaylee would graduate on the 19th at 10:40 a.m. Now I'm getting a phone call saying that it is not voted on in regards to this after I've made arrangements to take off work and everything else, and now nothing is a guarantee. This is absolutely ridiculous. Somewhere along the way, communication has been lost, but you're affecting the seniors that are not going to have a proper graduation and their families at this point, and it's absolutely ridiculous that this is even happening. It should have just not been said and then told to the parents at the time when everything was finalized. Thank you.
All right, next up is Savannah. She did not leave a last name, however.
Hi, my name is Savannah, and I would like to make a statement about graduation for the seniors. I do not think it's fair for seniors to not be able to graduate with their class. I think they've worked their butts off for this. It's strictly not fair. I don't see why they should get 5 minutes alone in a room and with their family members. I mean, they should get to graduate in front of their class. They've worked 12, 13 years for this. They need to show it all. They need to be proud. It's supposed to be a memorable experience. I don't see why graduation can't be moved to a month from now. No one even, the students that are going to college, they're not going until late August. So what's the point in just moving it so they can graduate the class till, say, middle of July or something like that? I mean, they're reopening everything. I don't see how what's the point in just moving it so they can graduate the class till, say, middle of July or something like that? I mean, they're reopening everything. I don't see how it's fair that TJ Maxx, the mall, I mean, Rick's Donuts had a 4-hour line before they even opened. How that's fair, and then our seniors can't even graduate with their class. Their goal is for them to be able to show off how many clubs they were in, what they were president of, what their GPA was. I mean, this isn't fair for them. This is supposed to be a memorable experience they can go on and tell about. I mean, this strictly is not fair to them. They deserve it. They have worked so hard for this moment. It's not fair that they get to only graduate in front of their family members for 5 minutes. I mean, if all these other stores can be open, you don't have to wear a mask in them. I mean, they should be able to graduate with their class. I mean, what's the problem putting it off until July? Putting them out on a football field, 6 feet apart. I mean, if you're sick, obviously don't come. I mean, the graduation's always been a choice, from my understanding. I mean, 2, 3 years ago, if you didn't want to go to graduation, you didn't have to. So what's the difference in that now? If they don't want to go to graduation because of the risk, okay, they don't have to come. But don't forget the students that are upset and crying because that's all they wanted to do is go to graduation. They worked that hard for it. I mean, I think in my opinion, it's as simple as that. They should be allowed to graduate if it has to even do that. This is what they worked for their entire life. I mean, this moment right here. So I frankly don't see a problem in pushing it back if it needs to, but they need to graduate this class. Thank you.
All right, next up is Shelley Dial.
scheduled to be at 2:45 on a Thursday. Since they're going to be separated and into intervals, is there any way to have it on a Saturday? A lot of us are working from home, and I work for a telecommunications company, and getting a vacation day off right now is scarce because I'm essential. So if there's any way to consider having the ceremonies held on a weekend like that Saturday, that would be great. Thank you.
All right, next up is Stephanie Hansen.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Hansen. I have a senior at Topsail High School. His name is Taylor Unsay. I was calling to give my 2 cents. I think we should have a graduation. I was hearing some great ideas from the parents, and I think us doing it, we're one kid at a time, giving them 5 minutes with just 2 parents present with the live stream would be great. Do not take away this from kids who have struggled so hard and worked so hard to graduate away from them. They've already lost prom and everything else. I still think we're able to do social distancing and still give these kids the graduation they deserve. Thank you so much.
All right, next up is Stephanie Norris.
This is Stephanie Norris. Our family has discussed, and we would like the students to have an opportunity to graduate. If it's at an outside ceremony, it gives the students an opportunity to connect with one another. Thank you.
And finally, Wendy Queen.
Yes, my name is Wendy Queen, and my daughter is a senior at Topsail High School, and I would prefer it to be later than the date that I was told yesterday, which was March 26th. At 4:15 at the school with just her and 6 members of her family, or I would recommend maybe a drive-up like most of the schools around are doing. Something more traditional and not so rushed to do it would be a suggestion. Thank you. Bye-bye.
That is everybody.
All right, we appreciate everyone's comments that we've just heard, some in person and some by the recording. All right, information part of the agenda. Dr. Hill, you have the first item. Legislative overview with a couple of different bills on it.
There's an attachment in here. Basically, when the General Assembly came in session recently, on May 2nd, they combined a package. One side of the package basically handled the procedures, one handled the funding. And I won't go into all the top information, but I just want everybody to understand there's some money that's coming down that the federal government has had and that the governor has a pot to. And Rich, correct me if I go astray here on any of this, but it's big numbers, but by the time it gets to us, you know it's been through several filters. And so we will see, we're waiting to see exactly what some of those look like, but at this time, the approved funding package designates $231.6 million for the following key purposes. Child nutrition is $75 million, summer learning $70 million, remote learning includes devices and support is $56.5 million. Exceptional children is $15 million, student health is $10 million, cybersecurity is $4.5 million, and residential schools is $600,000. The funding formula for those look like basically they're going to follow the federal model, Title I model. Is that still what you understand? Is that the model that's going to follow Title I guidelines is what they're suggesting for the funding breakdown?
I can't understand what you're saying.
As the model, they're following the Title I guidelines.
They're close to the Title I guidelines, yes.
Yeah, which may not be a positive for this county. So, some of the things in the bill that, as far as procedure-wise go, is there was no inclusion for principal pay at this time. I think they may take that up at a later date because obviously there'll be no scores this year and some things they need to base it on performance. And there's no decision or no delay on the requirements on the mandates for K-3 class size. So they haven't lightened those requirements. So right now at this time, they're still required to lessen those class size even further next year. So we'll have to watch that. Advanced math placement is something that we looked at. We've already initialized that. You'll hear more about that in curriculum and instruction later on. But basically, we're doing that already internally, which is placing kids who score level 5 into an advanced math class. That's already internally done most of the time already. School calendar provisions. So this is one the board really needs to kind of pay attention to, because it allows remote instruction to satisfy the statutory instructional timelines for this year. So that's been made official. It mandates all LEAs to adopt a 2021 calendar with 190 days of instruction, with 5 remote instruction days in accordance with a newly required remote instruction plan, and an additional 5 instructional days aligned with work days. So what that means is we'll have to have a distance education plan. We'll have to add distance education days to next year's calendar, and what the instruction during work days is, there'll have to be some home instruction during work days for teachers. So there's going to be some changes in calendars, and that's why we have a calendar task force at this time, to make sure we're abiding by all these things and everything coming down that we're learning. So there will be some changes to our calendar as this has come to law. Each LEA must adopt a calendar that meets the following requirements: opening date for students of August 17th, 2020, closing dates for students no later than June 11th, 2021. No remote instruction days scheduled prior to August 24, and remote instruction days may be scheduled for use as teacher work days, which we just previously discussed. We don't have any waivers right now. Start and end dates to apply to calendars. Yeah. So modified calendars is like Pender Lee, and we're in discussion for that, because there's going to have to be several options that we have to look at with Pender Lee. And so there is currently a state task force that's been formed to kind of start looking at this reentry model, and some of that will take on some of this calendar review. We'll have to develop a local remote instruction plan that the curriculum instruction department is meeting as a region and talking about now. And the other piece of this is extend school improvement plans, which means every school improvement plans have to be voted on every 2 years. Like many other things, it'll give it a waiver. It'll push it, give it an extension. And that's pretty much the cliff notes of what happened in the General Assembly during their first meeting.
All right.
Mr. Chair, I've got my agenda pulled up on my email. We just got an email from a person that said that all the phone calls, there was not a cutoff time on the phone calls, and some were missed.
There was a cutoff of 4 p.m. There were 3 calls who came in after 4 p.m.
Okay.
That was, I believe, on the, let me look real quick.
It was on the announcement.
It was on the announcement. It said that the cutoff time was 4 p.m.
But we've got 3 is all. They came in after the cutoff.
I haven't checked my email recently because they come there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I have not had time to screen these for profanity or length.
Well, maybe we can see it at the end of listen to them at the end of the meeting or something, if everybody's okay with that. Is that all right with everybody?
If there was a cutoff time announced, I mean, I don't have
Well,
a problem
true.
with it.
Yeah, it was on the it was on the agenda announcement. 4 p.m.
Richard, can we take a poll on it to see if it's changing the rules.
It's changing the rules, but also you need to keep in mind that they haven't been screened for
Yeah, I know.
content that would be on.
Well, that's why I was okay. I just don't want people to not be heard. That's all. So
Can you send them to us as an audio file?
Yes.
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
On the notice that went out for the comment, it says, underlined, if a member of the public wishes to offer public comment, please leave a statement by calling the phone number no later than 4 p.m.
Okay.
May 12th.
Okay. I just want people to be heard. That's all. So. Okay, but if you'll send it as an audio file, that'll work too.
Yep.
Okay.
No problem.
Good. Thanks. Anybody have anything else for Dr. Hill for that item? Okay, and Dr. Aiken, I think you are next. You have, 6 different items here? 5 items. Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Some quick updates. I think I'm piggybacking what Dr. Hill was just sharing. Is it on?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
You're good.
All right.
It's not on in here, that's just for the
Okay.
the public.
It's just for YouTube. You're good.
Okay. So the first one is, if you remember back, it's been a couple months, but Ms. Martina, our new EC director, presented some of the work that she's been doing. And one of the first tasks we asked her to do was to begin a real program review of some of the various programs that we have at our schools. That is still undergoing and ongoing, I guess. But one of the first steps we'd like to take is really looking at one in particular program, and that is our student support program, a sustained support program. I asked Ms. Martina when she got here to really give me some fresh feedback on exactly the instructional pieces to that, and also we'll look at ways to expand it. Right now it's only at certain schools, which means that for some of our students, they have to leave their home base assignment and travel to another school. And really that's something that we want to minimize as much as possible. So one of the things we're hoping to roll out next year, just want to make you aware of, and we're really hoping for some budget help at all 3 levels. But if we can make that happen, what we'd really like to do is expand the number of schools that are able to offer that sustained support program and also provide it some additional instructional materials. And we think one of the immediate impacts would be that we'll have far fewer students, especially at our elementary and middle schools, that will have to travel to schools outside of their home base and their feeder pattern. And it really, one reason we want to target it is this particular group of students is generally primarily students with disabilities that are on grade level, or at least they are participating in the regular instruction. So it's not a highly specialized situation where sometimes we do have to work with those students and bring them together. These are students that generally are able to access the curriculum, and we want to reinforce the idea you should be able to stay at your home base and kind of move on. So more to come on that, but I want to make you aware we're starting to meet with principals. They have been tremendous, by the way. I do want to say that. They are on board. The number of times they've said we are excited to be able to keep the students that are generally our students. We also think it's going to give a lot more flexibility. Right now, a lot of our principals, sometimes they're kind of boxed in to certain situations, and really we want it to be a spectrum, fluid across the entire breadth of an EC services. And by doing this and moving some teachers to these schools and hopefully coming through on some budget stuff. So if you hear anything about budget, please reinforce the idea of getting us some more EC teachers. But if we're able to make that happen, we think it'll give us a lot more flexibility and serve our students where they should be. Which really is, anytime we move a student, we have a very high bar for what legally we should be going through to take them out of their home situation. So that's something I just want to let you know about, some progress being made and some of the things that we've shared and things we told you we would do. So I just want to let you know about that. I know Dr. Hill was telling you about some of the legislation, and that has been rolling out fast and furious, and a lot of it has been hitting the instructional services team. 2 of those issues are the Read to Achieve, iStation, and summer learning. So if you weren't already aware, a couple of state board meetings ago, the state superintendent sort of announced that the iStation contract will be ending in total in June. It had been kind of extended, and then they were talking about extending pieces of it, but they apparently have decided that at some point in June, iStation contract will officially terminate, and they are now starting a new procurement process. We don't know what it is, or at least I've not seen anything yet about what the guidelines are, what the budget behind it is, what they're looking for. What I would want the board to know is, if you may remember, that it was actually the night last June 12th, right around there during our graduations, Dr. Metcalf and I received an email that said, hey, by the way, we've just purchased a whole new reading platform, and it's going to be ready in August for your teachers. We may be in a similar boat. And on top of that, we're in the middle of a pandemic. So I don't know what products are being looked at. I don't know necessarily how that would roll out, what the PD implications are for our teachers. We really just found out about 2 weeks ago. So more to come on that, but I do want to kind of let you know, I think you heard a lot about it from the teachers last year about this new thing being thrust on them. There is a chance that that's going to happen again. I don't know what products may come up. I don't even know who's going to be on it. The state board did have several questions to the superintendent about who's participating in the review process. So more to come on that, but I did want to let you know because that's also impacting the Read to Achieve. So kind of know we have the summer reading camps that are based on Read to Achieve. Between the loss of iStation and, of course, what's going on with COVID, the state has waived the Read to Achieve camps as you've kind of known it and repurposed the money, sort of. So that money now is just being called summer learning. However, within the House bill, there are several stipulations about what it can be used for, which still primarily targets rising first, second, third, and fourth grade students. So it's not Read to Achieve in the way you've known it. There is some funding coming down to help us with summer learning for reading and a little bit for math. I can tell you that our team is also really looking for ways to support our rising 6th grade and 9th grade students for the reasons that those are transition years and that greatly concerns us, that we want to see them face-to-face for a while. And we also would like to try to find some ways to support any of our high schoolers who will end up with the WC-19, meaning they don't get credit for a particular course this year. We are directed to provide them opportunities for credit recovery. We'd rather not wait until the start of the new school year. We'd like to get them in, but will look like in COVID. So I don't know the numbers that are at stake. I don't know how many teachers necessarily could be involved. But we are going to have summer learning. We will definitely target for the state rising first through fourth reading and math. We would like to do more with 6th and 9th and also try to support our high schoolers. I just don't know how much money is involved, when, or where. So more to come on that, but I want to let you know we'll provide that. I'll try to have a plan to the board. We have to let the state know by the 22nd of June. So hopefully at the next board meeting, I'll be able to come to you and kind of give you the outline of what we're going to turn into the state. Although the state was kind enough to say, even if it's not approved, you can continue. So we'll move forward. One of the other pieces of legislation you may hear about is the waiving or waivers as part of the advanced math component. So you remember, I think it was about 2 years ago, the state passed a new law that any student who gets a 5 on the EOG for their grade level in math must be placed in an advanced math course, which could be one grade level up, could be a compacted math, could be an honors class if it was a high school. So we're not giving any EOGs or EOCs this year, so that's kind of a dilemma. So they said you could default back to existing board policies and also use teacher input. Well, Pender County already has a very robust policy for looking at multiple data points. That includes any previous EOGs, EVOS projections, teacher input. We already have a rubric that we use, so just want to let you know we're going to use the policy that we already have. And then per state law now, any student who does not get initially placed will be given the chance to take what I guess would have been the 2019-20 math EOG for that grade level. Ms. Kimbrough's working to get us details on when does that happen. We think it's going to be online, which is what we've been doing, but we don't really know how. We don't know when we can bring them into a school and how we separate them out. So more to come on that, but we're going to kind of work through that, but we will be following the policy we already had, which was a very strong one. And then we'll work with parents and students for anyone who's not placed and give them the opportunity to take the math test. And if they get a 5, per law, we'll work with them and get them placed in an advanced math course. And then the last one is distance learning. So I will tell you, I continue to be extraordinarily impressed with what we've done. We have the opportunity to sit in some webinars with regional districts and across the state. I actually talked to a vendor last Thursday or Friday, and she lives in Union County, and she gave me an earful about what Union County was not doing compared to what Pender County is doing. And we hear that, region, we have a lot of parents, staff members who are parents from kids in New Hanover and Onslow, and we hear over and over how far ahead Pender County has been. So I want to continue to thank our teachers, the principals, the directors. I'm not sure if Dr. Hill shared with you, the state has directed every district to submit a distance learning plan, 13 components. It's nothing that wouldn't surprise you. It's things like, how are you going to look at engagement? How are you going to deal with hard copies versus online access? How are you going to try to help communities that do not have a lot of connectivity? What are you going to do about you maybe coming and going between being Staff and I are starting to go through it. I don't think there's anything that's going to be hard for us to answer. I think, again, I'm very impressed with what we're doing. I'll try to have that to the board before we go and turn it into the state. The biggest challenge, honestly, will be our current situation was a long-term haul. We knew we were going out. We had a lot of suspicions that we probably wouldn't be coming back in, so setting it up for a consistent, long period of time was one thing. What we are having to look at is the possibility of intermittent. We may be in school, then we maybe have to be out of school, then we may be back into school. I think that is going to be what will be new for us, and our staff tweaking what we have done, kind of looking forward. So that's part of the 5 days that we now have to designate throughout the year as distance learning days, and a lot of that is so that if we have to go out, we can shift stuff around. I think that'll be our biggest challenge, is working with our staff and our families for Monday through Friday. You may be face-to-face, and suddenly we hear overnight, the next 5 days we're going to be out. But then those 5 days later, we'll be back in. I think that interplay is will probably be a new challenge for us from what we have done. But I will have that for you in June as well, or certainly by the July board meeting, kind of let you know what we're going to turn into the state. But I'm not concerned that it's anything we can't answer, because I really do think we've done a fabulous job. So that's my big push all of a sudden of information for you. So what questions can I answer?
So is there a plan right now? I'm just hearing little buzzes here and there. The last couple of weeks of what would be our school year for remote learning, is it going to change a little bit on what the teachers are doing with the kids? Are we going to continue this to the end? Is there something for remediation being looked at for those kids? I'm just starting to hear things like that, and I'm just curious.
Yeah, so the approach that we decided to try to take was to try to mimic the normal end of the school year as much as we possibly could. So when we stepped back and looked at usually the last 10 days of school, we end up in the testing mode anyway. So all new instruction, we're going to try to keep going all the way till essentially Memorial Day. What we would have done had we been face-to-face is we would have begun to switch to test for preparation anyway. So to mimic that, we said we would stop presenting new information and then start shifting to the assessment, but basically feedback. So starting the process of looking at what students have been able to do, reaching out to our parents. We have to provide all of our K-5 parents a narrative type feedback. It's a non-grading feedback. We want to give our teachers a chance to start doing that, making the phone calls. Middle school has to do a little bit of both identify grading, student choice for high school courses, and provide feedback. And of course, high school, the big push is reaching out, making sure we find out each student's choice for the 4 courses. During that time, our intention is to continue to try to post information that we think would be helpful for parents that would like to continue to access that, for students that would need to continue that. Because we will not necessarily be providing as much face-to-face or ongoing during that time, we agree we would not do new information, but we'll continue to try to post resources. The timing of the intervention process is, I'll be honest, a challenge for us. We're still trying to figure that out. The kind of interventions that you want to do, for example, struggling readers, you can do something online for sure, but whether that's really going to help a struggling reader is something that we are struggling with. So we're hoping to try to wait until later this summer to give us a chance to figure out what we'll be allowed to do when it comes to allowing students to come into school versus are we going to have to stay online, in which we will adjust and figure it out. But I don't want to get so far ahead in planning our summer learning for the interventions to find out that we either won't be allowed to do it or we put too much of our eggs in one. So, and we think, truth be told, it's been a long stretch for our staff and the students and families. And I think we're kind of looking at the idea of June taking a break from that heavy push. And then starting the week after July 4th, a big push toward a lot of our camps. We've been talking with the Parks and Rec Department, our own camps, our own interventions. And everyone seems to be kind of wanting to wait till about July 6th or even later and then see what we can do. We can put together the online. I think we have a lot of tools, but a lot of our teachers and our directors are very uncomfortable with reading remediation being solely based on online stuff. So that's part of the summer learning plan we have to turn in. I think we just kind of want to get through the new content, provide those 2 weeks for us to work with students and families feedback process. Post information should the parents wish to continue that, because I think that we know it does help to have a routine instructor for those that are able to do it. But we don't want to continue doing new information, because then the process of getting up with our parents keeps getting delayed every single time. And we wanted to give our packets and the people who are using the paper pencil a chance to get it back into us. So if we kept doing new, then kind of end up past June 12th, and we can finally wrap that up. So we're trying to walk a line really between continuing to let school be school, model a normal face-to-face year. You know, normally we would stop brand new instruction right before the UG went to and then build a summer learning remediation plan as soon as we can find out what the resources we have available to us are. You know, one example is we don't know how many kids we're going to be able to have in a classroom with a teacher. Right now they're still saying keep kids 6 feet apart, but you know, I can tell you to sit, but kids don't do that. So you know, we don't know how close the teacher can be, and I really need to be next to you to hear you read. How are we going to do that? So you know, the math maybe can be a little bit looser, but the reading is really dependent on me being able to watch you read, hear you read. So I think that we're honestly kind of struggling with that a little bit. And I think that's probably why we want to try to delay as long as we reasonably can. The funding that's coming down that says we could have till December to spend it. Obviously, we don't want to wait that long, but if we're going to give us some time on the spending, I'd like to hold on the time to spend it at least until July, and then push hard. Because the other thing is, I'm still worried about our rising 6th and 9th. So it's great that the state's going to give us money for 1st through 4th, and that is important. But those transitions years in a year when I won't have seen you for 12 weeks, and then the summer. So really, we're talking 18 weeks between the last time I saw you when you're changing buildings, with the exception of Pender. That's a real concern. So we'd like to build that in there somehow if we can. I don't know if I answered your question. I'm sorry.
No, you did. And as a parent of a child who's going to 6th grade, I'm really concerned about how that transition is, to be honest with you.
Yeah, we are too.
She's concerned about it too. So.
I think it's important for people to remember, and I still get goosebumps every time, we've missed 25% of the last 2 years. That's a lot of instruction. And that's going to impact math. I mean, we've been talking about reading. Dr. Lee's the first one I can hear in my ear right now. That's a lot of math instruction, and that is such a linear step-by-step, and so they'll miss huge holes in that. And so we're trying to figure out how to work with our math program as well, because that's, you know, math 1 placement, but then you think about math 3, math 4, those kids who really we would expect to be taking some of the highest level math we can offer, they've missed a lot of math 2 and math 3 as they get ready for some of those AP level statistics courses that they generally would have a very strong foundation. So, yeah, it's a concern.
I just wanted to make a comment that kudos to Miss Martina and to you for having the idea to more evenly spread the sustained support services throughout the district. I think this is huge. It's a great idea. Getting those kids to stay within their neighborhoods, within their neighborhood with their neighborhood peers. I think it's a fantastic idea, and good job.
We're excited. Dr. Hill, and I wish Betsy was here, I would thank her as well. Their support, and they're helping us figure out how to present it as a case to the county commissioners and to the state. You know, they deserve a lot of credit too, because that certainly is a piece of it. If we don't have the EC teachers, that's a hurdle, and that's partly why we are where we are. We don't have enough EC teachers to do what we'd like to do. But between their support and just talking with the community, talking with the state, talking with the commissioners, I feel really good that people see that and support it and want to try to make it happen if we can. But I think if we can make that budget leap, I do think we'll see some very immediate benefits for students.
Well, it has a lot of advantages.
I agree.
So, very good.
I think the lack of resources is why we went the way we are now. I mean, I was here when we did that. That was because these teachers are hard to come by, and
we talk like if you had a visually impaired or hearing impaired, you don't have enough students at any one school,
right.
So you kind of have to. And I think it's reasonable that we got that. But one of the things that our team is constantly drumming into me is not only our overall growth in Pender, but specifically our EC. We actually had told Dr. Hill we got our April head count, and Pender County is 14% in terms of identified students. So 14% when that overall number keeps getting closer to 10,000 and over 10,000.
But note on the budget side, we're only funded for 10%. There's a cap. So we've got to find that money, and that's what we've been working towards.
Right.
So you're absolutely right, Mr. George. And that's why I wish I could say we're going to do that every program. We can't. We wouldn't be able to sustain it. But this is a starting place, I think. We have enough students that could return home to justify programs, because we did look at that. It wasn't just we'd like to make it happen. Do we have enough students that could return to certain schools to justify a teacher being there? And it's taken us a couple months to get there, but I think we've been able to show that we actually can. The programs will sustain at those homes. And that was a big piece.
Good. Very good.
Anyone have any more questions for Dr. Aiken? All right, thank you.
I think I'm going to be back later.
Alex, we got an email about a couple of messages. So you're
reviewing
aware of it
that.
now? Okay.
I think what appears to have happened was I had the folder I was storing the files in open.
Okay.
It was down at the bottom, and I drugged them into another folder on my desktop, and they never refreshed into it.
Okay. Well, can you send them to
yes.
all of us, just like the others?
Yes,
So we can...
I'll be more than happy to send all the files to you guys.
Okay.
That way you've got all of them. I think I know which couple we're looking at.
Well, just, if you will, send theirs separately.
Sure.
So we can
Not
know
a
that
problem. It was
been
just
heard
an honest
already.
mistake. It just looks like the folder didn't update when I dropped
Okay.
it in there. So.
All right. Well, if you will, if you can send those separately, that's
Yes,
probably better.
absolutely.
That way
Absolutely.
we'll know they haven't been heard yet. So
Absolutely.
we can take care of it.
Now, those two, Mr. Chairman, were for, they called in before 1 o'clock or
Yes.
1:45?
Yes.
Would Alex have the ability to listen to it now himself and then play it to us at a later point? Since
Well, that'd be fine, too.
Since they did meet the criteria.
One of them I think both of them I have actually listened to. Like I said, I pulled them off, but they didn't go in right for whatever
Well,
reason.
can we go ahead and play those two now?
I
then?
know one of them is Joe Cohen. Actually,
Yes,
hold on a second.
that's-
I need to turn this microphone back on 1 second.
Okay, thank you.
Since they did call it.
Yes, that's right. They called in before the time.
Hold on, it takes a minute to link up. Well, if it's going to. No, we'll just use mine. Joe Cohen?
Yes.
Definitely one. He'll have to give me his wife's name. She didn't identify as Cohen.
Her call time was 1:53. Do you have it? It's 1:53 and 3:20.
Okay, I'll look back at the time stamp. Hold on a second. Turn my volume.
Hi, my name is Joe Cohen, and this message is for public comment at the May 12th, 2020 board meeting. My son is Clyde Cohen. He's a senior at Topsail High School, and I'm calling to ask the Pender County Board of Education to please continue to work on a group ceremony option for the class of 2020. I appreciate the time and effort that has been put forth to plan a virtual ceremony. However, celebrating this momentous time in these kids' lives in an empty auditorium seems sad. With such short notice, it's nearly impossible to have even 6 family members here to share. But more than that, these kids need closure. They literally left school on Friday, March 13th, never imagining that that would be their last day ever in high school. I ask that you give them a chance to once more be together as a class. Let them have their celebratory moments. Let them say their goodbyes. So much has been sacrificed by them already. Let's do what we can to give them a great memory together. They deserve it. Thank you.
I have his phone number if you need it.
Good afternoon. My name is Derek Cohen. I am calling to share some comments for the school board meeting taking place the evening of May 12th, 2020. I have a son who is graduating senior at Topsail High School, and thank you for the opportunity to share some thoughts on the graduation ceremony plans under discussion at this time. First, I appreciate the extraordinary time and effort the board and administration is taking for the well-being of our students. Our state, local officials have been aggressive to address this health crisis, and I'm hopeful the school board remains focused and thoughtful in taking the necessary steps to ensure our graduating seniors are provided with a safe and memorable graduation experience they have been working towards for 18 years. My recommendation is as follows. The event should take place on the regularly scheduled date of June 12th, or the weekend which immediately follows based on weather. An outdoor event at the respective schools where appropriate social distancing measures can be observed should take place. For any families who prefer a quick greeting or a digital congratulatory message, we can consider those accommodations as well, although the primary focus should be on the larger event that appears to be the consensus. I would recommend you put together a parent, student, and advisory group to provide input to the administration and coordinate volunteer resources needed for the event. Again, thank you for your hard work so far. Let's work together to pull off a safe and memorable event for our seniors.
Is that it?
That's it.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
Got one more housekeeping item. On the agenda, I'm just noticing that there are two number 17s. The motion was to move number 17 to number 33, and I'm sure that referred to the first number 17, the graduation plans
Yeah, I
update.
think I said 17 information.
Right, move that to number 33, but we also have an existing number 33, so we need to amend the agenda to change existing item 33, the HR report and addendum, to number 34.
Okay. Can we get a motion to make the changes that Richard just said?
Should you leave them alone?
So moved.
All right. Brad has made a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is that unanimous? All in
Yes,
favor?
aye.
Okay.
Sure.
All right. Thank you. All right. Who is filling in for Ms. Chestnut?
I believe Dr. Blumenreich is filling in.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Betsy could not be here tonight, so just to give you the information out in front of her, and that would be specifically for the board, budget report for the board. I'm more than happy to take them. If you have any questions about the budget report, I'm more than happy to write them down and get you the answers that you need.
I don't have any questions about the financial reports, but I do have some questions for finance.
Okay.
So I can email them tomorrow, but just to make the board aware, a few years back, we implemented a lunch fee limit that a student couldn't exceed $20, and those fees had to be paid prior to the student graduating or getting parking pass at the high school or whatnot. I got a text today and a phone call about a couple of letters that went out that have fees that are going back all the way. These kids are seniors, but we're collecting fees that go all the way back to the beginning of their kindergarten year. And that was supposed to have been rectified several years ago, at least 4 years ago. And I'd like to know how much is out there that we're trying to collect now, what happened, why the kids are seniors, so evidently, and they all have parking passes. How did that get through the cracks? just some unanswered questions about how we dropped the ball and how much money is involved. And I know the one I got today, a copy of the letter, is $193. Only 90 of that is last year's and this year's. So it was $100 that's followed him since kindergarten to his 12th grade year. How many thousands of dollars are we, is out there? Because I know a few years back we had to pull out $120,000 out of local funding to pay for overdue lunch charges, and that's when we implemented a policy for collections and the $20 maximum before the call and the bag lunch was implemented. But I'll send Ms. Chestnut an email tomorrow.
Very good. I'll make sure you get answers.
I'd received something similar, Brad, that there was a middle school at West Pender that the kid had over $100 just on overdue lunch charges. So it was, I know we want to feed them, but just at what point do we just say, hey, this is carrying with you? Because like you said, it's carried on all this time.
Like I said, one year it was up to over $100,000, and there was a couple of years it was up in 80, 90. And that comes out of local funding. That's a couple of teacher spots.
Right.
And that's why we implemented the policy that we have now, but evidently we're not following the policy we have now. And have it, because like I said, it goes back to 2005 or 2009.
All right. Anyone got anything else for Betsy Chestnut's substitute? All right.
Darren?
Oh, you have number 8, don't you? I'm sorry.
Next item for...
Well, let me stop. Does anyone have any questions that's seen this in the agenda? Fuel and electric. Okay, thank you. We're good. Mr. LaFawn.
Speak directly into the microphone.
Good evening, board members. I'd like to give you a quick update on facilities and where we're at. Athletic fields are on schedule. There's a slight holdup at Pender Lee, not from anything that the contractor has done, but it's just a weather situation that when it rains there, it gets very, very muddy, and it's hard for them to do any work. The irrigation systems will be going in, and as soon as they have power and the irrigation systems are working, then they'll lay the sod, and we'll have some very beautiful fields, I think. Sewer project, they're laying the pipe at South Topsail. They should be ready for school when school starts in August. They're not anticipating any issues. There's a completion date late July, early August, so we shouldn't have any issues there. Walkway here at Pender High School will start as soon as the materials are being delivered. They should be delivered in the next couple of weeks, and they figure 4 to 6 weeks to completion of that project. So again, we should be ready to go for mid-August start. Water testing has come back. All the schools passed. We're good to go there. There will be some testing of some water fountains in some other in the schools just to make sure that we cover all the bases. But so far, all the tests have come back just fine. We're going to take advantage of the downtime to replace the drainage pipe. Topsail High School's football field. There's really that field gets so much use that there's not a good time during the school year between all the athletic events and things that happen on it. So if there's a silver lining to what's going on right now, we will be able to get that project done and not interfere with anybody's practice, games, or any schedule like that. Other than that, unless you have any questions, that's your facilities update for right now, major projects.
Is that a replacement, or are we lining it, or is that a replacement on that?
We're going to replace it. We're going to pull it up and replace it.
We don't have to disturb the track, though, right? I mean,
we will not disturb the track. that is a major sticking point with, when we talk to the contractor, they're going to work around getting over the track. They're going to take care of that.
And I wrote out the Pender League because I had some time to kill today. You sure they're going to make that on June 1st?
I don't think they're going to make June 1st.
I don't either.
Just to be honest with you, no.
We shouldn't
I do
put
not.
on schedule. Cause
Yeah, I do not. But I'll meet with the contractor and talk to him. And
I mean, I can
see
understand
if I
that.
can get you a firmer date. But I feel the same way, riding out there and taking a look, especially if you go to Surf City and you see where they're at, and then you go to Pender Lee and see where they're at.
And I can understand the field work, maybe the weather, the wet soil. They haven't even hung fence yet. I mean, they've got poles in the ground but no fence hanging. That's something you can do when it's wet.
Yes, sir.
I would think. And they were drilling a well today when I was there. Yeah, I don't think that's going to make the June 1st.
I have some concerns with that as well, but the contractor says they should be okay. But I'll nail him down to a firmer schedule and see if he needs to ask for a little more time.
That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, I had just a question about fields, and a lot of our responses, people calling and wanting to have graduation on fields. I know that there's a lot of maintenance put into these football fields and money that's for upkeep. As someone that's been doing this for quite some time, do you have a personal opinion of the pros and cons of having something like that on a football field? And if you're not prepared to answer, I understand.
I actually don't have a professional opinion. Being a former coach and having to practice and play on fields, I would be opposed from a coaching standpoint. I would be opposed to putting chairs and tables on, this would have, poke holes in my field. But I think it's something that we could work around if that's what we have to do. I most certainly wouldn't want them to put chairs and things on the tracks and that kind of thing, especially if it's warm, because they will sink, and those are depressions you cannot fix.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Dr. Blumenreich again. So we've taken off item 14, so you have the calendar task force and the transfer request timeline, it looks like.
So, calendar task force
Yes.
first.
Yeah, we struck number 14.
Dr. Aiken and I are forming an interdepartmental group to look at all the calendar options given the new legislation. It's going to affect everything between, we know calendar is a hot button issue, and it's a hot button issue because of how much time the students have spent out. We need to get them back in. We need to make sure that we deliver instruction. We need to make sure that the teachers are prepped to be able to deliver good instruction, not just face-to-face, but also remotely, so that's going to involve my department. We need to make sure that transportation's able to rise to the occasion and do the things that they need to do, and we truly don't know what things are going to look like other than what has been given to us to currently construct. And so Dr. Hill, of course, articulated that with the legislation at the beginning of the board meeting. So we're going to be looking at that and trying to put everything together to make sure that we can give our kids the best instruction that they deserve. So that's a process, but we're currently working through that.
Anyone have any questions?
So when do you have a timeline of when you'll have the new recommended calendar?
Well, we're going to be getting together this next week. So we're going to just kind of talk through some of those processes. The General Assembly's made it pretty clear what the traditional schools are going to look like. They're going to start August 17 and no later than June 11th. We just want to make sure that we put the remote learning days in where they have. We have a proposed calendar that Cheryl and I have been working through, Ms. Kimbrough and I. But we want to make sure that everybody's on the same page, but we also need to make sure that we do a very close reading of the legislation because it's a little bit complicated. The year-round components of that legislation are also a little bit complicated also. And so we just want to make sure that if what we currently have can be modified to meet the needs of the legislation.
That was my next question, is what we have now. I mean, we have a unique calendar next year anyway. So.
Correct. If we can modify what we have now to meet the needs of the legislation, just kind of shoehorn it in, and still kind of cross those T's and dot those I's with the remote learning days, and between the remote learning days, the 190 days of instruction, the additional 5 individual and fully instructional days that cannot be satisfied by an accumulation of hours, all of those processes. So it's just going to take a really close reading and everybody banging heads, so to speak. But we plan on getting together this next week and start that process. And it's going to be sooner rather than later.
Thank you, sir.
Who's in this group? I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
It is mainly instructional services and my department, organizational development. So we're going to have Dr. Aiken, Beth Metcalf, Elisa Lee, Kevin Taylor, because they're addressing the needs directly regarding instruction. With my group, it'll be myself, Carrie, Cheryl Kimbrough. Then we will be bringing in other secondary members for the supporting components. So I'll definitely need Craig Lawson there for the instructional delivery component. I'll definitely need Chuck there regarding the hardware device process, because we are going to need to be able to deliver instruction remotely this next year. And then elements of transportation. So it'll be a kind of phased-in process, but we'll need to start with the core group. Instruction needs to be there at the table, and I think we'll need to be there at the table.
And at some point, you may pull in teachers and others
Well,
to discuss.
we're trying to use the current calendar. And we're not going to go far off of what they were talking earlier. We just got to kind of make those 5 days fit.
Right.
So I mean, that's the process. It's just to try to make it meet legislation. But we can definitely pull in some lead teachers, let them review it.
There's been discussions about what to do about year-round. That's going to be fun.
That'll definitely be a discussion.
And hopefully there will be no changes in legislation between now and then.
Any more questions?
Not on calendar? I don't.
All right. Transfers.
So what you have in front of you regarding the transfer request timeline, and gratefully acknowledge the assistance of board counsel and input regarding a close reading of the policy and statutory requirements. So this is basically what we're following. You've had the original deadline for May 1st, and everything should be able to be pulled together and pushed out by this Friday. And then with June 12th, with report cards going home, of course, the promotion and the assignment goes on the report cards. And then the deadline for June 25th to request any reassignments from the final process. Hopefully by that time, we should have everything, we should have a fair idea of what our numbers look like at every school in terms of capacity and number of transfers and all of those processes through. Because we're going to have to make some determinations about staff. We'd love to get it done earlier, but in compliance, this is what the process needs to look like time-wise.
Was there a lot? Was there?
Yes, sir.
There was a lot.
704.
Oh, wow.
Now, granted, some of those were people that looked like they were attempting to enroll their child, not on purpose. It's just it looks like an enrollment process, and it looks very much like the enrollment portal. So I think they were trying to enroll their child through the transfer portal. So some of those needed to come out, but we still have approximately 650 get those taken out.
Wow.
Largest number ever.
Wow. Interesting. I have no other questions on transfers, but I do have a question.
Oh, okay, yeah, go ahead.
What is our Chromebook recovery plan? How are we going to get all those back?
We're working on it. It's going to be a process. We have 5,200 Chromebooks out. And I'm hoping that we can get them all back and disinfected within time. But we're going to do everything we can to do it. So can't give you any specifics right now. We don't know yet. But I will get you that answer.
When we lent these out, was there any kind of documentation, liability?
Initially, we had started the process, but because the turnaround of closing the schools happened so quickly, and we needed to get them out for remote learning, we were able to at least get the documentation of what Chromebook went home with what child. So we do have that, and the significant portion of them, well over 80%, are pinging on a regular basis, which means they're being opened up, turned on, and used. I think Chuck can probably verify that, but from what I've seen, it's over 80%. So we do know who has what Chromebook. And the schools did a very good job, but we had to turn it around very quickly because we just had no time before the schools were shut down. We had a plan in place with all that documentation.
That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
All right. Anyone else?
I'll just say, I mean, those are some of the questions that the regional task forces are talking about too, because we also got to have teacher clean out, teachers come in and get their, there's got to be all this end of year stuff that has to take place, still has to take place, but how do you do it and still meet the restrictions that are placed upon us is what we're trying to figure out as a region. So that is some of the work going on right now in the task force.
Are we allowing students in to get their personal items out?
That's what we got to look at is how do we do that. Right now, we're trying to accommodate people if they have something. Originally, we went, if you have medicine or a device or something you need or an instrument or something you need, make an appointment, they'll open the door. The idea is to not have so many people showing up at one time or have a big day. So that's how we originally did it. But how do we do the mass, end of year, get everything out? And that's what we're actually working as a region to try to plan for.
All right. Thank you, sir. All right, y'all, let's take about a 5 or 10 minute break here since we've been going since 4:30.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My old back is killing me.
Thank you, yeah.
Okay.
Take your microphones off and leave them on the table. 5-minute break. Yeah, and then we start.
All right, so consent agenda. We've got 3 items. Number 17 is budget amendments. Number 18 is attorney fees, and number 19 is board minutes from February 28th and the special board meeting that we had. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, it's unanimous. Thank you. Item 20. Yeah, 20 and 21, Dr. Aiken.
Dr. B. Dr. B. Can you get Dr. Aiken? Thought he'd be waiting there. Yep. Directly into the mic.
We're good.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board have 2 items to bring before you. I think the first on the agenda is the PITSCO order. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. This is a continuation of the work that Dr. Hill started at West Pender now, I guess just 2 years ago, installing our PITSCO STEAM labs. These are the labs that allow us to purchase kits that connect to other parts of the curriculum, and we're able to tie these directly to local industries. We've used the same pattern each time, which is trying to look at what's in the area. We have worked up with the Chamber of Commerce and other groups a list of the largest employers in the area and fastest growing industries, and from there we're able to pick a variety of kits. To this point, we've been able to have kits at West Pender, which was our first fully fleshed out one, and then we quickly added Burgaw Middle and Topsail Middle. And last year we added Cape Fear Middle, and then today I bring before you requests to add our final 2, which would be for Pender Lee and for Surf City Middle. It's a similar process. The only thing that is different in this one is that at this point, PITSCO has updated the furniture, and the furniture now is mobile. So instead of the tables that typically have sat kind of there in the cabinetry, they've upgraded the furniture so that it has wheels, it has storage within it. And so we're going to kind of go with that. And we would like to begin that process and be able to get those here on site prior to June 30 and begin a professional development process for those 2 teachers. Surf City Middle already has a course in its catalog that is very similar. And for Pender Lee, this would be shifting again more toward our Perkins 5, move a little bit away from some of the standard courses we've offered and trying to get in more of the STEM courses in middle school as well. So requesting funding for the 2 kits for a total of $285,348.47.
We need to vote on, we have to vote on this.
Yep.
Yeah, I've got a, could I ask a question?
Yes, sure.
The recommendation here says approve option 1. Is it option 1 for both schools?
Yes,
or-
sir. Option 1 was the new, going with the current furniture that they've now moved toward. Option 2, we could have gone with the older stuff, but it was available, and it was basically a wash between the 2 prices. So option 1 just refers to the new furniture, or new furniture style.
I don't think the numbers add up right for the 2 option 1s. Give me 1 second.
You need the motion will have to include which option, right?
You want option 1 for each one?
Yes, sir.
So the number in the recommendation, the fiscal implication is wrong. So you need a motion to approve option 1.
Does it need to be pending legal review?
No, it's already had legal review.
Okay.
But the recommendation number wasn't on there. So what I would suggest is a motion to approve option 1 for Pender Lee Elementary in the amount of $123,393.42, and option 1 for Surf City Middle School in the amount of $161,323.24.
I do have a corrected total.
287, 716.66. Is that?
Nope.
Nope.
$284,716.66 is what I had.
Yep, that's what
Okay.
I got there. Apologize for that error.
So they need to be split into two, or can we just?
Or if you can use, you want to use the right number, you can do option 1 for both schools. So let me suggest a motion to approve option 1 for Pender Lee Elementary School and Surf City Middle School in the total amount of $284,716.66.
Okay. Make a motion to approve option 1 for Surf City Middle School and Pender Lee Middle School in the amount of $284,716.66.
Second the motion.
All right, a motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, unanimous. Thank you. All right. Discovery Education Online Science and Social Studies.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, member of the board. We have been using Discovery Ed's streaming services and textbook for science. To this point, that's been a bit of a individual school approach. Began working with Dr. Lee in the schools early this year in an effort to kind of review that, determine its usage rate and impact. Of course, then COVID hit, and that sort of changed some things. We were in the process of trying to go ahead and get onto a school year calendar purchase system. Prior to that point, we had a situation where it was getting renewed in the middle of the year and then ending in the middle of the year, and we wanted to kind of move it. So we had done requested to extend it to June. COVID hit. The company actually was gracious enough to allow us free access to a lot of these materials. We've had a chance to work with several teachers, talk about an implementation plan, begin to look at a little more professional development. It's kind of a product that has been in our system, but through teacher attrition, some of the people that first really were into it have left. So what we would like to do is request to create a district purchase of it, specifically science for all of the schools, and then social studies for just two of our schools. One has already purchased it through their own resources, and then one school would like to look at an additional social studies process. So we'd like to ask for science availability at all the schools and social studies at 4 of the schools. I do think this provides us some flexibility. We already know that we'd like to get to one-to-one instruction and move away from a complete reliance on paper pencil. Science and social studies is also something that we're still trying to help our teachers identifying resources to standards. We are working on that internally. However, one of the things Discovery Ed would do for us is it already aligns some of the videos and other resources that are online and gives them the exact standard and what kind of it matches to. So that would give us some time to work with that. And then second, knowing that distance learning will be a part of where we're probably going for a while, if not for the long term, this fits nicely into that process. So I'd like to request being able to purchase district level licenses with Discovery Ed for $37,648.50.
All right, do we have a motion for this?
I'd like to make the motion that we purchase Discovery Ed for $37,648.50.
All right, we have a motion from Ms. Burns. Do we have a second? Second. All right, have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, it's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And we've got 3 items from finance that Dr. Blumenreich filling in again.
Hello again, everybody. What you have in front of you from Betsy is a contract to audit their accounts. This has already gone through legal review with Brandon McPherson.
All right. Anyone
Motion we
has?
approve the contract for the yearly audit in the amount of, whatever it was, $27,500.
I second the motion.
All right. All in favor?
And this should have the name of the auditor on it to prove it with Thompson, Price, Scott, Adams and Company, VA.
Okay. So the motion includes
Can I make a
their name.
recommendation for our agendas? If we're going to do it online, it is very difficult to scroll down to find the name of something and then back up to find the price to make these motions. Can we get all that information on the precis form? I mean,
Yeah,
you
that's what I've
understand
been
what I'm
talking to
saying?
you about.
No, because I'm scribbling over here on my file folder.
You want it printed?
No, I don't want it printed. I just want it to be accessible where you can see. Like this one here.
I got you.
On the precis form, it says contract the audit accounts. Okay.
You want the number on the front.
It's got the price, and then I have to tell who I'm approving it for. I have to scroll down to the actual contract.
The recommendation should say, recommendation to approve contract with the name of the
Thomas
company
Price,
in the
Scott
amount
Adams.
of X dollars.
Right. Because it's hard to scroll up and down. It takes forever, it seems like.
Gotcha.
So I make a motion, contract to Thomas Price, Scott Adams and Company, PA, in the amount of $27,500 for our yearly audit.
And I'll second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you.
It wasn't hard when we had the paper copies because you could flip back and forth. But
All right. Item 23 is incentive pay for staff, April 16th to May 15th.
Members of the board, what you have in front of you is a piece of information from Betsy regarding the projected shortfall for incentive pay for staff, April 16th through May 15th, to the amount of $18,180. And she is asking for you to recommend approval for an additional $18,180 for incentive pay for staff to be paid from Fund 2 and 5.
All right. We have a motion.
let me get this right. So we're 18,180 times 2. Is that correct?
It's roughly
No.
$78,590 is what she's averaging a month.
The projected shortfall of $18,180 beyond the $139,000 for approval. So that carries us to May 15th. Is that
Yes, sir.
okay?
Correct.
Make a motion to approve the shortfall amount of $18,180 to carry us to May 15th with the incentive pay program.
I second the motion.
All right. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Unanimous. Thank you. And item 24, incentive pay from May 16th till June 15th.
And as with the last one, there's a recommendation for up to $78,590. Recommend approval for incentive pay to be paid also from Funds 2 and 5. And our understanding, it is up to that amount because it depends on the phase that we're in per governor's executive order. If we go to, say, phase 2 by this particular time, that will limit the amount of money that would be paid out.
So how, and Dr. Hill, you may know, Dr. B, you may know. At phase 2, does that do away with all incentive pays?
Correct.
It does?
Correct. So at phase 2, there are no bonus incentives, and all employees can report to buildings for work. So the teleworking phase is over.
Trying to tie it to something that,
I understand.
you know, that makes it, when do you not, you know what I'm saying? So we're trying to tie it to something that's a statewide entity.
Gotcha.
But that's all subject to change. Phase 2 could change too.
Right.
Right. Well, I mean, listening to the governor today, May 22nd, they feel pretty confident it's going to be phase 2. So that would, May 23rd, 4th, 25th would not be part of the incentive program.
Right. So that'll allow us to move and do more work, maybe even play into us getting our end of year things going. That's what we're hoping for.
That's all the questions I had, Chair.
So do we have a motion for those 2 dates, this item?
For up to, yes, the recommended approval is up to $78,590 for incentive pay to be paid from Fund 2 and 5.
Okay. And the motion will need to have all that in it, I'm guessing, right, Richard?
Pardon?
Make a motion to approve up to $78,590 coming from Funds 2 and 5 for the incentive program from May 16th to June 16th, dependent on phases under the executive order.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah.
All right, unanimous. Thank you. And looks like Mr. LaFawn is next. Item 25, easement for Pender Lee.
Hello again, board members. Action agenda, first item that I have up is Duke Power has asked for an easement so that they can run power to the, for the athletic fields at Pender Lee, so that they can have access to it whenever they need to. I'd ask for this to be approved. If it's approved, then Chairman Hall will have to sign, or have him sign this tonight. And then I can have Dr. Hill sign it tomorrow and have it notarized. But I checked with Brandon before we came. He said that would be the way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I ask that you approve the easement, and we'll take care of business.
I make a motion to approve the easement request at Pender Lee School.
I second.
Sorry. Ms. Burns is seconded, I think, correct. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that's unanimous. Let's sign it now because I think it needs to be done.
That's it.
All right, thank you. And next is Cape Fear Elementary School Playground.
So we need to replace our playground at Cape Fear Elementary School. We've taken bids. Bid from Barb's Recreation, $47,200.58. We want to start that project on the school year 2021 budget, not this school year. I'd like to have the board approve that. Accept the bid from Barb's Recreation for $47,200.58. Construction new playground at Cape Fear Elementary School.
So this will start after July 1.
Correct.
You know how soon after it'll be?
No, sir, because we haven't. The contract's not in place at this
Yeah, I
point.
know, but it'll be.
But they are aware.
Hopefully, by the time school would start back in
Yes.
the fall, if we right.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. All right, do we have a motion to approve this?
I make a motion that we approve a construction of new playground at Cape Fear Elementary School based on the submitted low bid of $47,200.58.
Should say from Bars Recreation.
So from Bars Recreation, sorry.
All right, have a second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, unanimous. Thank you. And item 27, Rocky Point Elementary School Playground.
Board, this is the same, basically the same item as at Cape Fear, except for at Rocky Point. Again, the bids were solicited. Bars Recreation submitted a low bid, $77,643.55. Again, it's going to be a project that will start after July 1. I recommend that you accept the bid from Bars Recreation, the amount of $77,643.55 for construction of the playground at Rocky Point Elementary School.
I recommend that we approve construction of new playground at Rocky Point Elementary School from Bars Recreation, submitted for the low bid of $77,643.55.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. George seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, unanimous.
Mr. LaFont, how did these get so far, shuffled back so far? This has been,
Because we've had discussion about this.
There's several things. At the beginning of the year when we were discussing it, it was a matter of could we get it in this year's budget. When we discussed it in March, there were several projects that were being considered. After the modular classroom at Topps Elementary, the walkway here at Pender High School, and a major technology purchase for, that we did for the technology department. These were the easiest ones to push, knowing that I could try to get them started as soon as possible after July 1.
I think in the future, if we could get a list of all the projects that we got waiting, so we can maybe do a better job of prioritizing.
Because it's hard for us when we get concerns from the public to be able to address it, and we think that it's being handled and things are being done, and I'm like, I don't understand what happened. Because we had discussion about this before we ever had discussion about the Pender High School walkway. So I guess that's the concern. So that's a great idea, Mr. George.
Yes.
We can do that.
Thank you.
Good, thank you. Item 28, repairs.
Playground repairs, due diligence every year we go through and have the playgrounds assessed. Over the course of the time, playgrounds do get, they do need to be repaired, sometimes taken out and replaced. Assessment this year was done by Bars Recreation, as they are primary provider for most of our playgrounds. In the past, they're the ones that put them in. For all of our assessment or playground repairs this year, the total was $46,885.67. I would ask that the board approve this amount for playground repairs at our elementary schools so that we can get the year started with everything as it should be. This includes labor parts, everything. This takes care of all of it.
Make a motion that we approve a service contract for playground repairs in the amount of $46,885.67 from Bars Recreation.
All right, have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, unanimous. Number 29, Pender High School track.
Board, the track at Pender High School is in need of a top dressing and resurfacing. We've done the same thing with the Topsail High School track and Trask track in the last 2 years. Advantage Sports submitted a low bid, $124,310. I would ask that the board approve the track resurfacing at Pender High School in the amount of $124,310 by Advantage Sports. And this was something that was on the books to start on next year's budget. It was not something that we were planning on doing this year. However, we get it approved tonight, they can start in July. We don't have to wait.
I make a motion we approve proposal to Advantage Sports Incorporated for $124,310 to resurface Pender High School track.
All right, motion's been made. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, unanimous. Thank you.
Hey, can I ask one question while we're at Pender High
Yes,
School?
sir.
The tennis courts out front, does Pender High School have a tennis team?
They do not.
They do not. Can we remove the nets are dilapidated out there just for, they look bad riding by. I mean, they're hanging off the pole and ripped in half, and
Yes, sir.
if we're not using them, can we get rid of at least the nets?
Yes, sir, I can talk to the athletic director here and see if they can get them taken down.
I noticed
When's
that-
the last time, Mr. George, that they had a tennis team at Pender High?
I don't know.
The last time that I remember them having a tennis team here would be 2010, 11, somewhere in that neighborhood. But that's my memory.
So it's been a while.
So
Yeah.
it has been a while. The same thing at Trask. It's been a while since they've had a tennis team at Trask as well.
Have they ever had one? I know we got brand new tennis courts, but I don't know that they've ever had.
I think they tried to have a tennis
they?
team, Mr. George, but did they actually ever have one? I couldn't tell you.
Sorry, that's all I had, Chair.
Item 30, South Topsail Elementary School boiler replacement.
Board, the boiler at South Topsail Elementary School has reached the end of its service life. If you remember, we had an emergency replacement at North Topsail, which is its sister school, put in at the same time this past year. We nursed South Topsail's boiler through this school year. We'd like to maybe get a jump on something before it actually breaks down and take care of it in a timely fashion. CSS Boiler and Mechanical submitted a low bid, $44,694. I'd like for you to approve that amount for replacement of the boiler at South Topsail Elementary School.
All right, got recommendation. Do we have a motion or any questions, I should say, before we do it?
Do we have a schedule of what's left? I mean,
We do not, Mr. George. I did not inherit a schedule of that when I got here, and it's something that we are working diligently on to get. And we also want to put together, in my time here, as you know, and Mr. Van just before me, there's been a lot of chillers and boilers and mechanical, major mechanical expenses that have been taken care of and replaced. And I, for one, would like to have a schedule of this was put in this year, this is what it was, this is the life expectancy,
Right.
so that we, so
Start
that we can
planning.
actually have a 10 or 15-year plan for something like this and quit having it be the way that it has been the last, in my memory anyway.
Chair, I make a motion, we approve the contract for CSS Boiler and Mechanical in the amount of $44,694 to replace the boiler at South Topsail Elementary School.
All right, a motion's been made. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, Ms. Burns seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Who is Dr. Aiken?
Dr.
Okay.
Aiken.
And this will be item 31, summer school for Head Start. And then item 32, also Dr. Aiken, Head Start quality improvement.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, here for two ends of a Head Start grant. The first one going back to summer learning and transitions. Obviously, just like the rest of our grade levels, our preschool students have been out since March 13th. And one of the most important transitions, of course, is starting kindergarten. Ms. Poulin and her staff were made aware of an opportunity to try to apply for grant money that would allow us, pending all other standard orders and CDC guidelines and so forth, to be able to run a limited summer school option for our students, specifically those that are in our high at-risk areas. So on behalf of Ms. Poulin, is here to ask permission and approval from the board to seek that grant to institute the summer school plan, or summer learning plan as she described.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion in that we pursue the grant to provide the summer school option that was just presented.
All right, we've got a motion. Do we have a second?
Hasn't this already been approved, the grant?
We have to get permission from the Board of Education. There's a signature page that we have to sign off that we presented and the board approves.
Right, so is this to approve the grant or accept the grant? Approve
No,
pursuing the
We
grant?
have to get the board to approve us even writing for it.
Okay.
That's how the page is presented at the end of it. That the board has to approve us seeking the opportunity to get the grant. We haven't
Okay.
received it yet.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that's everyone unanimous. Thank you.
So
Who made that motion, I'm sorry?
I made the motion.
Who made the second?
Mhm.
Thanks.
So the second request is actually on the other end. Ms. Pullen has received a Head Start opportunity to take care of some quality improvement, cost of living adjustments, and specific one-time activity funds related to COVID-19 and part of the CARES Act. This grant opportunity has been made available. We need to seek board approval to receive these funds. Ms. Pullen kind of outlined some of the three major areas that we'd like to apply it. First is cost of living increases. She has to bear much of that on her own through the Head Start funds. And as you guys know, that salary tends to be an ever-increasing piece to the puzzle. So she has outlined a request to use some of that funds to be able to do that, to shift money toward instructional services. And then both for quality improvement and one-time work, we'd like to provide some technology increases and additional materials for classrooms. So that line has been created for her in the total of $144,569. In this case, we're just seeking the board's approval to go ahead and receive those grants and apply them as Ms. Pullen has outlined in her budget.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the grants for Head Start quality improvement that was just presented.
All right, have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. George seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board.
Thank you. All right, so this will be item. Richard, we changed something. Is this 33 still, or
Yes, now it's 33.
for graduation?
Yep.
Okay. I think that because there's been a lot of talk about it, unless someone's opposed, is anyone opposed to just saying what your idea may be before we get into this discussion about it?
Well, Mr. Chairman, before we give out ideas, I think it would be appropriate, just for clarification, for whatever has been, from my understanding from talking to Superintendent Hill, that everything's is made optional.
Yes.
But I think maybe it would be more appropriate, instead of us just throwing out different ideas, to hear what is planned, because it seemed like tonight the vast majority of people come in were confused of what has been presented. But that's just my opinion, sir.
Well, no, I agree. I just want people to know where we stand is all.
Because I know we've done a YouTube video, and we've put some press releases out, so.
If you want me to do a little timeline to get
Yeah, sure.
I mean, that'll work. So, and basically, Alex do they have the current piece of paper you're handing out?
Yeah.
Most of this has been shared before, but he's put together another information page. And before we do anything, I just want to say yes. I mean, the whole concept was not to sit down and figure out options, but to offer as much as we possibly could. I mean, that's really how how we began this. This is going on around the state, and most of everything that is the things that have been presented that are within the law were considered, and we just basically said, let's work out things with the Department of Health and Human Services with the ideas and offer the maximum available. So to do that, Alex, I kind of said, Alex, will you take this on and work with it? I said, you do such wonderful work. And he really does. I don't think anybody can dispute that. Is that would you put the ideas together and try to give us the best ceremony with offering everything? I'm not looking for options. I want to offer as much as we possibly can offer. And that was pretty much the direction. He pulled some people together. He worked on it. He said the time frame's got to start sooner. If you want to take the pictures, if you want to do the live stream, if you want to do the video, and have it available near the graduation point, that would be a piece. Let's not call that a traditional graduation, because the idea is basically let's offer something now that will give a large percentage of people what they something that's the maximum we can offer now on what we know the state is doing, and then let's come back with the traditional later on and offer the max there. So that way everybody wins. You don't lose somebody along the way. You don't lose the kids who are going to the military, they don't have to pick. They get the option. The families get to be on the front row. The idea was just to offer as much as possible, not to sit here and pick through whatever we were going to do, but to offer as much as possible. That's really how this all started. A couple of things came out with the themes of listening to everybody and everything. Outside is obviously wanted. I mean, we agree. Let's do outside. When do we make the call is what we need to know. You know, do we stop June 1 and make the call, or do we leave it open all the way to December and have a Saturday event? I mean, those are some things that we're open for. Let's do it all. Let's have a traditional graduation like everybody wants, but let's do something now so that we don't lose people too. And that way everybody gets something, or the max people get something. So what we have on the table here basically is an offer to say, this is preliminary, a ceremony. We'll call it, you know, but traditional graduation, what do you want it to be? When do you want to make the call? We will put it together. And that's been our response to anybody that's asked us is, yes, we agree. And we've even said we'll pull money together, we'll flip the bill, we'll go talk to UNC Wilmington, because some people are offering that. The only other things that are on the table, and there was a couple of people that mentioned those, were to drive up, or there's a parade offer. Some of the schools are doing those things on their own. I know Pender High School has a parade that they've got established and a date that they're working on. Some districts have left it up to the school, and that didn't work out well. This is a statewide issue. Actually, this morning I shared you information that Mark Johnson sent, that he sent out with us. Basically, those titles are a lot of things that came up today, but a mass gathering is not available at this time. I mean, and that's really just where we're at. And we're not guaranteed. If we wait for that mass gathering to open up, that man over there will not have time to create the video. He won't have time. We won't be able to get the contractors in for professional pictures. And those, we just wanted to do a live stream, family, offer them something that we could produce and show on the graduation date, and then say, now let's look at the traditional. Whenever that happens, let's offer. And we'll go as long as you want to go, waiting for that to happen.
Well, I mean, we don't know when it's going to be possible to have a large gathering, correct?
Yes, sir.
But, I mean, we've got people that are, you know, on a timeline because they may be joining the military or whatever. So that's why I would like to see us be able to do both, and they can participate in both if they can. Is that,
Absolutely.
am I hearing that part?
And I take on this because when Alex came to me, he made the video. He makes a lot of, he makes a lot of things. Like I said earlier in the closed session, he's made 77 videos since February. So when he came to me and said, do you want me to release video too? I said, look, and basically in my nature as a superintendent, I release all the information we have to the max that we can possibly release. And I said, release it all. Just give all the information you can. And that's where the confusion started. That's my fault, is because we should not have released the video, only the written material, because obviously the video has kind of confused it.
Well, and the times went out kind of early too, in my opinion. But it's, people know now. So, well, it was pretty evident tonight, the comments and the emails and things that we've gotten that, there are people that are okay. There's people on both sides of this, but.
Well, and that's what we have found looking at other states or other communities is there's not a one size going to fit this. So we were trying to say let's offer both sides.
Well, and two, maybe these plans can be tailored, by school. I mean, not every school is the same. This one is smaller. That was another common theme that we've heard from a lot of people, and I mean, it's their graduation, not ours, and it's.
And normally it is left up to the schools to do this. This is a celebration ceremony, so the schools normally they run it. In this case, we felt like there needed to be some guidance because there's restrictions on it. There's things that they have to be within, and so we all kind of got together and said, how do we do the best we can do right now, knowing what we know? And a lot of it is, why now? Because. A lot of it is we couldn't book people, we couldn't get it done.
We've talked with the schools at length. We're not taking anything out of their ceremonies that wouldn't be there or adding anything in that wouldn't be there. For example, Pender Early College generally does a video yearbook at the end of their graduation. They play photos with music, and the kids have submitted photos, or the yearbook has put it together. We still want that, but none of the other 3 schools do that, so that will be something that's in there. There's one school that has had a young lady who has sang the national anthem every year, and this is her senior year. She will come and we will record her singing the national anthem to make sure that that is part of it. Color guard. Some schools present the colors, some schools just have the flag standing up there and they do the pledge versus the national anthem. Whatever your school has traditionally done on your program is what we're still going to do. So the graduation is going to mirror what you would traditionally see. The only things that we might add are, since we can't have the junior marshals take part, we might add a little, here's a slide that says the junior marshals' names just to recognize the fact that they were selected for this honor. Little things like that that would traditionally be in a program or you would see by being at a graduation. That would be the only difference.
But now if we are able to at some point have a real graduate, and I use that loosely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
A more traditional graduation, I guess is a better way to put it.
Absolutely. We would absolutely want to do that. I think that would be the goal ultimately, is to give them that closure that they're talking about.
And I think most people that have spoken up about it, I think, they realize that we don't know when the date would be.
Sure.
I think, people may be afraid that it may fall through the cracks or just get put off into it. But I mean,
and that's what we didn't want to happen.
Oh, I know. I think everyone here has been
yeah.
pretty clear that we won't. It's their graduation. We want our people happy. I mean, we work for them.
And as far as the reason for why we are starting so early, it is going to take us 9 full days to take everyone's photo. And that's with 5-minute increments. It's going to be a long haul. Chris Madden's going to stand on the stage for 4 straight days and shake everybody's hand, or hand them a diploma, not shake their hands, excuse me. So it's going to take us a while to get those done and then have time to still be able to put those together, because I'm going to be putting those ceremonies together myself. So,
is there any way to help some of the people that have just really got inflexible schedules that they just?
Absolutely. We've talked with our teachers, our homeroom teachers, when they call, if there is something that's come up. We know we've got some kids taking AP tests at times that they might be assigned. We know we've got kids that are working, or there's a parent that's going to be home from the military at some point in a couple days later. We've told them, hey, let us know. We can add a 5:05 time slot. We can be there a little bit earlier if they're able to come then. We've got some flexibility in it. They just need to let us know. I mean, we're trying to stick to it as hard as we can because it is a schedule, but if there is something that we can help them with, we absolutely want to.
Okay, because I get some of these people have been out of work, some are starting back, some are, it's just as hard to get off. And when you publish, when you're, and they realize that we can't help this COVID-19 stuff, but people do make plans way in advance. Because our school calendar says, all right, it's going to be on this day or whatever. But really, I mean, we've had complaints, we've had compliments, we've had everything here.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I haven't really seen any that where they just totally don't understand that the times are different. And I certainly don't think people would be willing to not compromise a little bit. And I mean, they know this is difficult. But I think as long as, and we will have some people that just simply can't wait until we're able to do one.
Well, Mr. Chairman, my concern with all the phone calls I've received is that people are thinking we are pushing this as a board on the people, not listening to them, because I've gotten tons of calls saying, why in the world are you asking for surveys if you've already got spokesmen out doing this? I'm getting phone calls that I'm supposed to be here at a certain time, and then the call I got before coming in the parking lot, father called me up and was saying that my son has been postponed going, I guess the military call has been postponed whenever he's supposed to go in for that. I hadn't done the research, but this is just on the phone call, and said that we want a traditional thing. We don't want any of this other stuff, and I tried to explain we've not eliminated anything, but we've got to do a better job. I know Alex is doing his job, and Dr. Hill and all, but we've got to do some kind of job in saying we hear you, we are going to have this, we are not going to let it fall through the cracks. the date's not been set. I mean, if we need to set a date, then I understand, but the people are demanding that we do something.
So let me make sure that I'm clear on this then. So the public is clear. If we proceed with this digital graduation, there will still be at some point, as long as the state allows it, a real or proper or traditional or whatever term you want to use.
We've never said no.
Never said anything else.
Okay, to the best that we can do.
It could be in September, November. It could be way later. Depends on when things are available.
It's going to depend on a lot on what the state allows us.
Exactly. If we knew a time, I mean, there are projections and models, but if we knew a hard time, we'd tell them when it is, but we just don't know a hard time yet.
Well, here's another thing. If he's saying this is going to last 9 days with photo taking and everything else, and there's people that do not want to participate, is there any way that we could fast track this and say, if you want to participate, you're going off to college, you're going off to the military, and you want to participate in this digital graduation, that it'll be made available, and then we get that to them, and you probably could cut your times almost in half, maybe. I don't know.
Because you may have some that don't want to participate at all, and that'll shorten it. And
instead of having to do 2 things, they might just want to do the one. Because Brad, you wrote down how many tonight. Based on, I didn't write the number down, but I think I'd.
And so,
out of 40 or 39 calls, there was 4 that liked it.
Right.
Nobody else wanted to wait.
And so,
and I think that people want the outside gathering, but it's still a gathering. And the executive order says it lists the stadium as being, a place that you can't have right now. So I wouldn't mind seeing us wait like New Hanover County's doing, and wait until the 22nd. I mean, they've got a ton more graduates than we've got, and they're willing to wait. I think June 2nd now is their.
They're not putting anything out until June 2nd, and I have a hard time. Don't get me wrong. I know a lot of people worked hard on this. I understand it, but I have a hard time pushing that out tonight and making a hard decision on this. You got to remember, I have a relationship with a lot of these kids. They have been to me, guys, and they have said, Miss Falk, and they still call me Falk, Miss Cindy, I won't come back for a regular, I won't come back later on. I just won't do it. There's some who are leaving. They won't come back for the big deal later on. It's just the way it is. I understand the mandates. I understand the gatherings. But I just have a hard time voting to push this through as it is right now without knowing what's going to happen on the 22nd.
Well, and plus then there's there is the idea of the drive-through type is not the correct term, but, sit in your car and.
That plan he offered tonight.
Yeah, that's a very good idea.
That was a good plan. I mean,
and I have a FM transmitter. Yeah. And Don, Mr. Chairman, I have a FM transmitter that we use for our church services, and it goes about a mile radius.
Right. That'd work perfectly.
If we needed to go to that route, but for what I'm getting, my personal calls and everything is people saying, even if we have to wait a month, wait, don't make this decision, don't give us a time frame to come take a picture and be, like one comment said, don't push us through like cattle. And I think all of you got that email. And then it's like we're the ones that are coming across saying, why did you do this to us?
What I picked up tonight, because I'm going to take notes, is the word together. If it wasn't a student, it was a parent.
Right.
They all said, we've been together since kindergarten. They've lost their proms. They've lost their banquets. I think back to when Brett graduated from Topsail High, and what I would have felt like if he had lost his prom and all of that. They have been together since, a lot of them since kindergarten. And this is their moment. One parent said, I would like to honor my daughter for more than 5 minutes. I know, talking about the prom, she's gonna bash me for this, but she'll just be all right. One student said, her parent told me, she said, my child danced with the broom in her prom gown, guys, in her bedroom. And then her dad came out and danced around. I mean, that's how serious this is. I get what the mandates are, but I I don't feel comfortable making a decision tonight and saying this is the end all to be all. I know what people have said about the football fields, and I'm like, oh, but we're also under mandates right now by the governor, and we have to follow that. I have to follow mandates at our restaurants. That is the way it is. So we have to follow the mandates that are also being given to us. And I do know our parents, and I do know our communities feel, very strongly that one said there's nothing impossible when it comes to our kids. We can move mountains. And if there's ever a group of parents who can move mountains, it is our parents. And maybe we need to look at the graduations looking different. One parent said no one size fits all for all 4 high schools. And that's absolutely true. So a lot of work went into this. It's believe me, I get it. It's a good plan, but I don't know that I'm ready to put my name to a vote tonight and say this is the end all to be all right now. I just don't feel comfortable with that.
I would like to look at just a few more options. The field in Hampstead where they have the Spot Festival, they could park hundreds of cars and hundreds of people. It's not considered an arena. It's not considered a stadium. It's considered a field. You could do all 4 high schools in that field. I mean, we travel to UNCW now for graduation. We can travel to Hampstead for graduation. And there may be an area in this neighborhood where you don't have to have it on school property if that's the concern that we're going to violate the executive order. But you can have drive-in churches, and you can have it in the Home Depot parking lot, because evidently there's no limit on how many people can park in the Home Depot parking lot. They run out of parking spaces daily. But we're punishing the students by not allowing them to have a graduation. I think there's other alternatives, and there is a lot of hard work, and I appreciate what's been done. My rub with the whole thing was we got bits and pieces of it along the way, and then we got it the night before it went out. And then there was a lot of the Board of Education this, the Board of Education that, and I tried to clarify last night what the Board of Education is. The Board of Education are these 5 people sitting up here. That is the Board of Education. We're the ones that are elected to represent the Board of Education. And we didn't make that decision. We had no input. I had no input. I mean, I don't know if the other 4 did, but I can speak for myself. That was my rub with it, and then to be thrown out there and pretty much blamed for taking away one more thing from these seniors, I took it personally. But I do think that we could wait and look through some other options. I mean, New Hanover County, I hate to keep comparing us with New Hanover County, but they've set up a task force, if you want to call it that. They've got their student class presidents, and they've got representatives from the school, and they're going to sit down and come up with something. I would just like to, in my personal opinion, hold off until the 22nd to see what that is. The governor even mentioned today in his press conference that he's receiving pressure from everybody now. So who knows what the next step's going to be. I mean, the North Carolina Sheriff's Association even sent him, their request today. I encourage the people, that's who they need to be picketing. That's who they need to be protesting is in Raleigh. I mean, he's the one that's making the decision. Him and the DHS. That's not even his council of state, it's him. So that's where the concerns need to be addressed with him about relaxing some of these things and getting back to normal.
And we need to have a member of this board, the chairman or one of us, whoever's available, somebody on this board needs to be part of this behind-the-scenes sausage making, because if it's going to be put out there and then we've got to be the salesman of it, then somebody needs to on this board, because whenever I reached out to all of you and asked you, not one single one of you could give me any details. I mean, I know we've got, and when I talked to Dr. Hill, nothing's been taken off the table, but we've got to get one of you guys or me, or primarily I would probably say the chairman. Somebody needs to be on the board so that you can be interacting with us, so that if it goes out, the Board of Education's making these decisions, and then all these people are, picketing to us, And we've not made any decisions, and I have publicly stated that. There's been no vote on any of this.
Well, just for me, Alex, I thought the plan was a great plan. I think it gave everybody an opportunity to, whether you're going off to boot camp or you're going to athletics at a college or whatever you were planning to do after graduation would have occurred, it gave you the freedom to go and still hold your diploma and know that your principal gave you that diploma and that your family was able to watch. However, I'm a voice of my constituents, and there were a whole lot of constituents who spoke tonight. So that being said, as far as my opinion, I think that we need to maybe tap the brake a little bit and see what happens on the 22nd. You know, like I said, I want to be fair to everyone, but when you have this many people speak about something and they feel as strongly as they do about it, I think that it warrants, we should respect that at least to the point of having a more in-depth discussion about it and including them in on the discussion.
Well, I mean, you know, it's really not you know, our opinion could be one thing, but yes, we've got to do what our people want. That is who we work for. You know, so, I mean, we've got, you know, people just want us to make a decision here because, I mean, they won't know how to plan. But at the same time, I guess, really can't until the 22nd. I wish we could have sorted all this out tonight all the way, but the 22nd is not that far off. So.
But what about the option, what I was saying, though, Mr. Chairman, about those that want to go ahead and do this, that are not so tied into graduating, like Cindy was reading the comments about together, and I agree with Cindy 100%, but what about those folks that want, that got to leave, that are not going to be able to postpone it another month, you know, and all the work that has been put in to do this. I'm not discrediting that work, but if we could probably cut down the number of days of what's having to be done and just say, if you're wanting to sign up for this or put something out, whatever the easiest thing is to get a number out, have them assigned to come into a time, and then for those that want to do it. And I think the vast majority of people, if you were to poll every person in, that would say to you, the majority was, we were willing to wait for a traditional graduation, even though we are not legally required to have a graduation.
Well, that's true, but they understand that there are people that have got circumstances where they've got to. I mean, they can't wait.
Right, they just can't wait
past what was planned,
and we have to say something. I mean, we cannot leave here tonight and it in limbo.
Well, the earliest I've heard of anyone leaving is the 24th of June.
Well, I mean, so what day were our original graduation scheduled?
The 12th would have been Trask and Topsail, and then the 13th would have been UNCW. Pender, sorry.
I mean, it certainly can't be any earlier than that, really. I mean, within reason. I mean, we're not going to do this digital graduation like next week or something. So,
well, it would start, the planning, the filming, and picture taking
it's got to
would
start
next week. If you did that, it starts next week.
Yeah.
A week from yesterday.
But if you got the 12th and 13th, and the people are willing to wait longer, I mean, I don't know how hard it is to get these, you know, the photographers and everything lined up, but.
But of course, we don't know what they're going to do for this next phase on the 22nd.
If they can't wait, then they have an option, and go ahead and give them the virtual option.
And if they have the opportunity to come back when we can have a proper one, then
and you could do Heidi Trask, Pender High, Topsail, early college. You could do them all if the early option could be all done together.
Mm-hmm.
So with your option, though, you're taking out the speeches and those sorts of things?
Yeah.
It would just be
It would be, I mean, you would have maybe the principal say something, but depending on, I mean, you would not have, that early option would be, it would be a virtual, it'd be totally different.
Well, what about
Phase 2, how many
What about
people
the
can
outdoor
be there
option,
for Phase 2?
We're not
The
gonna do
outdoor
it
option
until
would
we
be
do it.
the later on, yes, and it would be a traditional
Okay,
graduation.
I thought we'd already,
Well,
sorry, didn't mean to sidebar.
And two, you have to understand, we don't know how much things are gonna change on the 22nd, if any. And they may not, but I feel like Brad did, that things are gonna change a little bit.
Right.
So then, what we have in place could be loosened up a little bit. We just don't know that, right, Alex? We
Right.
don't know that right now.
Correct.
And it might be more conducive to do something outside at that point.
I mean, because even if we do just a very traditional type of ceremony later, that'll most likely have to be outside at the very least on a football field,
Or split into groups if we had to do it in the gymnasiums.
I think the issue, talking to Department of Health and Human Services, is not the kids on the field, but nobody can come. You're going to reach your maximum on the field. There'll be no observation of it. So it will meet the standard of these kids want to get together, which is a common theme in all these. But right now, the advice is even in Phase 2, you can put them on the field, but you can't have anybody else there.
No, but all you can do would be to live stream it. And that's hard with a group.
Well, somebody said you could sit in your cars and we could kind of broadcast it. And
Pender
then
Parks and Rec has offered the use of their 21, they have a 21-foot blow-up screen.
Oh.
If we
blow
were
up the like park
Yeah.
screen they do.
Yeah, they do movies in the park. If we were to live screen it, I forgot to mention that earlier.
Because that outdoor option is pretty good.
Well, and I just got a message from Shiloh Baptist Church that they're offering, if we have 2 graduations at the same time, they would let us borrow one of their transmitters as well. They have a transmitter.
We've certainly got to figure it out by
And Mark
Very
Johnson, he
soon.
mentioned the drive-throughs, drive-bys, drive-ins, drive-somethings, right?
Drive-through.
It's a drive-in and a drive. I hate to say drive-by. It's a drive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, a pass-through. How about that?
Yeah, you know.
So would anyone be open to doing that? And then if people still wanted it, do a very traditional one. Well, you can still have the speeches.
Oh, yeah, tradition, you can do anything you want to.
The only difference is you'll be sitting in your car instead of in a seat on this floor like we do when we have it here. So, yeah.
East Columbus High School is having theirs next week, and theirs is a drive-through. By alphabet. They have the speakers. They have 5 different speakers. The ceremony will last a little over 2 hours. So they'll drive up, you get from B to A to B, or B or something's coming at one time, and they'll hear a speech, and they'll drive up and get their diploma, and then C to F or whatever. That's how they're doing it at East Columbus High School.
Well, I know the county commissioners have written a letter to the governor, haven't they, asking him to open the state back up?
Yes, there's been several county commissioners.
Yeah, I personally and feel like that I would not even mind the school board to vote to send an official letter from the Pender County Schools asking for the governor to uplift, to lessen the restrictions where this can happen for the citizens.
We can do that right now as a resolution. Do we need to change the agenda to do all that?
Let's get through this.
Well, let's do this.
You move this to an action item.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, let's deal with that before we go tonight. Everybody's all right with that?
So I'm going to throw a motion out there, and if you
Well-
don't get,
What you got?
I mean, Richard says at some point I need to make a recommendation. So he's listened to everything, kind of pulled it together. So is that what we want to do?
yeah, if you can make a recommendation, and if I don't like it, I'll make a motion.
Yeah,
What
I mean,
mine-
that's just to change whatever.
Right.
There you go. So the recommendation is basically to commit to holding some form of traditional graduation at some point in the future, to continue with the current plan to give people an option to get a diploma now that may be leaving, allow flexible scheduling to accommodate people with schedule conflicts for the digital graduation, which is also a live and live stream graduation. If there's an issue, like people have to work or something like that, which was already that's scheduled as well, or will be. And number 4 is put together an advisory group with students and parents from each high school to actually work towards that traditional graduation and make that available in the future.
And so that traditional graduation could be either it may be a football field, it may be a parking lot.
Whatever they come up with.
Whatever y'all, okay.
To some degree, that committee would say at what point do we say, I mean, once we get close to the end of the summer, there's going to have to be some decisions, you know,
Okay.
because reentry of school and things like that, there's going to have to be some cumulative. I think we'll have a better decisive decision about how much can we offer the full thing. I mean, that would be our goal, is to say, let's do, you know, we're just offering what we're offering on the table now. Let's go back and do a complete full graduation if they'll lift everything. I mean, let's go to UNC Wilmington, do all they want to, you know, do everything. And we will figure that out with a team of people. But we're trying, that would be the goal, is to buy time with this preliminary stuff and then offer them a full graduation later is what our hope is, and hopefully the governor lifts these sanctions so that we can do that.
Do we need to, so for this committee, Richard, is that something that we don't have to vote on that? Dr. Hill could create that itself, correct?
Correct. It can be, if the board wants to appoint a committee, it can, but
we can put board members
traditionally,
on the
that's
committee.
left up to the schools.
I think that Dr. Hill will let him, but then have at least one board member.
Oh, absolutely.
I just got a message that June 15th that one of the students from Pender Eyes when they leave to go to boot camp.
Oh.
That's pretty tight time, isn't it?
Well, it is, and I'm thankful. There's right now 123 people watching, and people are communicating
Well,
back and
but-
forth to probably several of us about this.
If we go ahead with that virtual option, though, as an option,
That's an example.
he's going to have his graduation.
Well, and his family can come. I think people call it virtual, but it's really a family graduation, live stream the rest of the family, and then virtual.
Right.
So, I mean, we made a sandwich. I said,
Yeah, but there was very little talk about the family tonight.
for everything.
More about their peers.
Yeah, they want to be.
Yeah,
there.
and that's what I'm saying. So the other thing is, let's put together the long-term plan for that traditional graduation
So
that
like-
everybody wants.
So this one that Ken's just talking about that's leaving on the 15th, if that individual needed to go ahead and do this first way of it,
Right.
if they were somehow lucky enough to be able to come back for whatever day that a traditional, they could.
They could
Yes,
still
sir.
participate,
Participate with that as well. Okay.
but if they have to leave to go to boot camp, then they still have the option to go ahead and get their diploma.
Well, I mean, when they signed up for boot camp, this stuff wasn't going on, so this was not supposed to be a problem, you know, there's that.
I just still think we need to wait till 22nd.
Well,
I think we need to wait till 22nd and put a committee together, have a committee, and let's really look at
well,
what
yeah,
it's
yeah,
going to
we've
look
got
like.
the,
That's
I wouldn't wait till the 22nd to put a committee together.
Well, I'd wait till 22nd to make decisions about how this is going to look. I'm just saying.
well, if they put a committee together, it's got need and.
Mr. Chair, can I make a motion?
Yes, sir.
I make a motion that we authorize the superintendent, Alex, our communications, form a task force consisting of student body government from each one of the area high school or district high schools to delay the decision on graduation ceremonies of any kind until after the May 22nd update from the governor. At May 22nd at 5 o'clock is when he's supposed to decide. Actually, I think he'll decide on Tuesday the way he talks today, and that'll go in effect on May 22nd. So a week from today, we should have some kind of guidance of where we're headed.
And you want the committee to have students, parents?
The student body government of the 4 high schools.
All right, how about parents or?
The majority of the people that spoke tonight, including parents, said this is their event, the students' event.
Let the students
Let the
do it.
students decide.
Okay.
It's not about us, it's about our.
I second the motion.
Can you,
All right.
can
Got
you
a
repeat that
motion
motion a little
Probably not.
bit? Give it a shot so I can try and get some down.
Authorize the superintendent and the communications director to form a task force consisting of student body government from the 4 district high schools.
Hold on, go slow, okay?
I can't.
Authorize the superintendent to do,
And the communications officer to form a task force consisting of student body government, senior student body government from the 4 district high schools.
You know what?
In an effort to formulate plans for a graduation ceremony.
to help formulate plans for graduations.
Correct.
Before we
And
vote,
delay any implementation of those plans until after the May 22nd executive order. But listening to his thing today, it'll actually be next Tuesday, I think, is when he'll make his decision, our announcement of what phase if we change phases. And then at 5 o'clock on the 22nd would be when it started. So by a week from today, we should have some kind of idea of what kind of restrictions next phase will be.
Okay. Do you want to, the superintendent's recommendation was to initially commit to a traditional graduation ceremony at some point in the future.
Yes, and that needs to be in there too, that we will, regardless of what we decide on.
Do you want to hear Steve, can you repeat the recommendation again slowly and clearly?
Commit to holding some form of traditional graduation at some point in the future. That's number one. I don't think there's an agreement with this, though. The next one was continue with the current plan to give people an option to get diploma now.
I agree with that.
Allow flexible scheduling to accommodate people with schedule conflicts with digital graduation, which is more than a digital graduation, and get that word out.
I agree with that.
And then number 4 is put together an advisory group with students and parents from each high school.
Okay, so Brad, your motion
So my
speaks
motion
to number
stands.
4. So it speaks to number 4. I was wondering if you wanted to accommodate any of the other portions of that in your motion as
But
well.
the guaranteed of a traditional graduation at some point in time, yes,
Okay. And what about moving forward or not moving forward with the current
after
plan?
May 22nd.
After May.
Yeah.
Some of those are scheduled for,
So we need to inform the students who have been informed to show up on next week.
Yeah, that
they
was
are
done
not showing up
prematurely. It
next
probably
week.
shouldn't have been done after tonight anyway, but yeah, we'll
Okay,
have to
so
let
we
them
will,
know.
we will contact them and inform them not to show up next week. Okay.
I mean, that's just my motion. It hasn't passed yet.
So is that feasible, Alex? I mean, I thought that was.
Yeah.
Could we actually fit that in your time frame?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we know who we have talked to, and we know who we have
Maybe they'll,
not picked up
if
the
we have
phone,
this, they
so.
can reduce the people.
Mhm.
All right.
And I think it will reduce the people and make it go faster.
okay, so there's one motion on the floor, if I could restate it, which is to authorize the superintendent and the communications officer to form a task force of senior student body government from the 4 high schools to help formulate I can't read this, to help formulate formal graduations ceremonies and delay any implementation of those plans until after the May 22 executive order.
Correct.
now, Mr. Smith, are you still good with your second?
Oh, I'm still good to second that, yes.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
That is unanimous. Thank you.
HR.
Yes.
Now, do you want to deal with any of the other portions of the recommendation, like the board committing to traditional graduations at some point in the future?
Well, I mean, what we just passed, you talking about like the membership of the committee?
No. The
I didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
what I'm suggesting, what the superintendent's recommendation was the first thing was for the board to formally commit to some form of traditional graduation ceremonies at some point in the future.
Well, but if we're going to vote on that, that would require changing the agenda, right?
No, because
No,
it's
it's still
on,
under
that's what
graduation.
that's part of the agenda.
So you want to do each one separately?
No, I'm just suggesting that what people were saying, what I heard people saying tonight was that there was some confusion about whether there would be traditional graduation. What I'm hearing the board say is that that's going to happen at some point in the future.
Oh, yeah, I wish somebody would commit to that. Can we have a motion for that?
I make a motion to commit to a formal graduation at a future date that will be announced.
Yeah, thank you, Richard. I
Second.
That one got around me somewhere. Brad is seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
That is unanimous. Okay.
Now, what about the virtual? Do you want to go forward with that or not?
I make a motion that, well, I think we said yes, didn't we?
After this, that you want to push it back, right?
Because, like, for that young man that's going to be going off to boot camp, yeah, he wouldn't be able to go to a future graduation, so yes.
Well, this is hypothetical. If on the 22nd, some of the restrictions are released where we can have a drive-in ceremony, then that'll include everybody. It won't have to be virtual. They won't have to come walk across stage by themselves. We can line them up like they do going in Walmart, 6 foot apart, and the parents can park in the car.
So the motion for that would need to be, how would that be worded, Richard, to comply with, if it were to comply, if the restrictions are lifted?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they won't be lifted. They'll be relaxed.
They'll be changed.
What we could always do is come back for another meeting after the 22nd to see exactly what's going to go on.
That was going to be the next thing. I was going to say we've got to do this before. Maybe we need to be on the 22nd after this will be done.
Well, you're going to have to give them some time to figure some things out and come up with recommendations.
We just don't have a lot of time. That's the problem.
Well, that's a Friday, it's the 22nd, so I mean.
So if this is hypothetical also. If we go into phase 2 on the 22nd, according to his planning, we would go into phase 3 on July the 12th at 5 o'clock.
You mean June the 12th?
I mean, June, yeah. June the 12th at 5 o'clock. Phase 3 says large groups can gather again. It's right there on his page.
Right. You may have some people, you might want to consider this as well, you may have some people who, because they're at risk or because they're concerned, may not want to go to a large ceremony and might prefer the option of the digital.
We can, we got Chuck up there filming us and broadcasting us live right now.
Mm-hmm.
We can do it. Can do YouTube live, and they can sit at home and watch it if that's where they're comfortable at.
The only issue I will say with that is we only have that equipment, and there were 2 graduations scheduled on the 12th.
The 12th.
So we would have to.
They were back to back though.
And they were back to back, and we would
also
either have
don't need
to
our
go to a
graduation
central
attendant for one
location
camera.
and do both of them, or we would have to move one to another date because we only have
Right.
one piece of equipment. So, just.
Is there something that we can do, like purchasing, to fix this? Because what you going to do if that camera fails?
That would be Chuck's department.
We definitely can look into it. Getting it here is another thing. Some of the things we were running into is contacting vendors, contacting contractors, just trying to make this happen, to offer as much as possible. So, I mean, I can't sit here and say we can make it happen, but we can work on anything you want us to work on. That's where I can be at. I mean, like I said earlier in the previous meeting, we can't get defoggers because the company shut down. Who makes defoggers to help us with the COVID?
But we're still wanting to offer a virtual, I hate to use that word, but we're still wanting to offer an alternative to the traditional.
So why don't we go ahead and form a committee? We'll review the best results that we have. We'll get the committee started now for option, I hate to even call them options, but the preliminary event and then the traditional event. How about that? And then we'll share with the board. We'll put a board member on it, and we'll share back with the board what the ideas are and take the input. without it being a formal meeting. Will that work?
That'll work. We'll still have to come together at some point to approve the plan.
We will.
In my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
This event is so important, so many to us that I will come in whenever.
Yes. Oh,
Same here.
say the word, we'll have it.
Same here.
Yes. And I'm getting messages right now from people that are watching us on YouTube that are saying that the picture is blurry and the sound's horrible. So if we do proceed with the option of having the cameras, Mr. Chairman, they heard you say that. They said that Pender County Schools should invest in better technology.
We tried that 2 years ago.
Well, it wasn't set up for this environment. If we were back at other places, it's a lot better.
Yeah, so he's shooting from a long ways.
I just want to make sure that people know that we're doing our very best being in this location.
So my question is, myself, do we need to handle this camera situation like right now? Because I mean, if it's something that's got to be voted on, you can authorize up to.
Oh, we're fine. Yeah, that should be.
They're fine.
We can make that happen. Yeah, we can get it here, get it available. Thank you. I mean, we're always happy when the board says
I just
buy
don't
stuff.
want a little hitch like that.
That's not a problem.
It won't be, Mr. Chairman.
I just got a text also that says that we can contact, this is coming from someone that works with Pender County, that we can contact Pender County IT. They have video equipment if we run the load.
And they're known for their audio.
I think we can find. Yeah, they don't have audio.
Yeah.
All right.
So has that been has any motion now that he made?
I don't think so. We got sidetracked. There's no motion on the floor about this, the virtual part.
What date are we talking about doing the virtual then?
So
Not
we have to, I mean, can we
after the
just
26th.
direct that be done? All this stuff has to be.
That's what I was just. Yeah.
Well, right now, the administration's had a plan in place. People have been notified. So if the board wants to support that plan or tell the administration to scuttle it or change it, now's the time to do it.
Yeah, but what we just voted on and passed, that Brad came up with, his motion, there's not what was the only difference in the two? Just make the committee,
The committee and the date.
the date, yeah. But you've got to start planning for this virtual one now.
We may have to cut some things. I mean, we'll see.
What'd you say? I'm sorry.
I said we'll probably. I mean, if we decide to go that route on the 22nd, we'll have to definitely augment it because I mean I know there was a lot of things that Alex was struggling with to make it happen in the time frame that we had. So.
Well, unfortunately, this COVID-19 didn't ask us whether it could come or not, so we've got to do what we've got to do to make this happen. That's all I know.
Okay.
We're on
In that
it.
case, Richard, how would a motion and all that have to be worded for something for this digital?
It depends on what you want to do.
Well, I can't make a motion, so.
Okay, the superintendent's recommendation was to continue with the current plan and accommodate scheduling changes and get the word out that scheduling changes can be accommodated.
As long as it doesn't interfere with what Mr. George, with his motion from earlier.
No, it doesn't. So if you, what you've got right now is an approved motion committing to traditional graduations in some form at some point. And a task force formed with student body leadership
To explore options.
to explore
Other than
options
traditional.
for traditional graduation after May 22nd.
Yes, something similar. Not, it won't be traditional, I'm sure, all summer.
Right,
And
some
August.
form. Okay, after May 22nd, but that's some form of traditional graduation. And then on top of that, you've got the already in operation plans for the digital graduation option or add-on, whichever it may be. But what you didn't have before was a clear understanding by people that you were going to have some form of traditional graduation whenever that's feasible. So with the digital graduation, they've already got that in motion. So the question is, does that stay in motion as an option or not? And I think that is what you either need. You either need to decide to let that go forward, or
My understanding was that
Stop
option
it.
was not going to happen. My option overrode that option. The recommendation Ken had was for the ones that are known to be leaving, to give them some kind of ceremony where they walk across the stage and get their diploma. It's different than, because I asked, did he mean that they would have speakers and all that stuff, and he said no. It was just that was my understanding of the virtual we're talking about now, unless I'm wrong.
And my understanding was that we would wait until after the 22nd for that
for
to
any
take
of it.
place.
Correct.
So the kids that
And
are
Dr. Hill
scheduled to
asked
come
you-
next week would not come next
So
week.
to make this clean,
And Dr.
We
Hill
might
asked
be
you,
able
was
to
that
put
feasible?
more-
so they need to
Right.
vote down what we're currently doing first, and then say, form a committee to do something on the 22nd, and then offer the best you can on the 22nd.
If you're going to
I guess.
eliminate it.
I'm not sure what you're saying.
So the number 2 here says continue with the current plan to give people an option to get diploma now. But the current plan is the plan that has all the bells and whistles, which is the current plan has the family coming, front row seat, they leave, next family up, front row seat, it's streamed live, and then it's captured and it goes on digital then. So it's a live family, it's a live feed, and it's a digital at graduation. That's the current plan, and that was in that recommendation, original recommendation. And then allow flexible scheduling to accommodate people with schedule conflicts for digital graduation. That plan, and we'll get that word out, which that was part of it. We just didn't want to originally say we're going to have a makeup day, or we wouldn't be able to put all those people on that makeup day. We'll try to get people to meet the schedule. If they have a conflict, then work with them. Because we can't do it all on Saturdays or not on Saturdays. Put together an advisory group with students and parents from each school, and that advisory group was to focus on the big graduation, the traditional graduation. We got time for that. We got all kinds of time to bring everybody involved for that, and that was the original recommendation.
To my understanding.
And they can choose. In the survey, it says 72.3% will attend the current plan, and that's how many people?
We had 541 respondents.
There's 1,242 responses, 51 no's.
And then 84.5 would attend a later event. So I guess that's it. I mean, that's the recommendation that we've originally made, that we started with.
And no one offered that as a motion. The motion was what I offered
And it's been seconded.
and voted on.
Correct.
Right.
Because we wouldn't really have to vote down this option because we didn't vote on the other. For what has been presented by Alex and Dr. Hill in central office, I don't think we need to make a motion to vote it down since we didn't vote it up. Is that right?
That's the way I understand it.
Yes, as far as the board's decision making, yes. So now, do you want the digital plan to go forward? Do you want to delay it
Till May 22nd.
till after May 22nd?
So this motion needs to be to specifically delay the digital plan.
Modify it.
Until-
Modify
The what? I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry.
it. Modify it.
Okay.
So, well, I guess, so there's two options here. My recommendation can be voted down, and they can do the whole thing again and say number 2, they want us to do the same thing. Well, you want us to do the same thing, right? But you want us to start on the 22nd.
What I think I hear you saying now is you want to delay any decision on the digital graduation option until after
Correct.
May 22nd.
Until May 22nd.
Is that correct?
Correct.
You want to?
Correct.
And then at that point,
I'll make a motion we approve the HR report.
Wait, do you want to make it?
Oh, Lord.
That's next.
Do you want to make a decision on delaying any decision on the digital graduation now?
I assume that was all part
That
of the
was
whole.
all part of what he said.
I might get a whiteboard. I gotta see
We
this.
just want it delayed until after the 22nd.
And we are willing to meet again at a called meeting.
That is
so.
correct.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I think we made that clear.
Yeah, and we're clear that we're going to meet as soon as we can after we know
That is
what's
correct.
going on here.
That is correct.
Yes, sir.
Whether it be called, emergency, whatever, I mean, this is pretty much an emergency. We've got to get graduation done. So.
Yes, sir. You have a motion on the floor, Mr.
Yeah.
Chairman, to approve the human resource report.
Yes, we do.
And I second that motion.
Aye.
No one opposed. Okay, that's unanimous. All right. I think that was it.
Well, we
Dr.
have
Hill, do you
comment.
have any
Yeah.
more report to give us?
Actually, you're right. Let's see.
Mr. Chair, one other housekeeping item, you need a motion to amend the agenda to delete the closed session.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to amend the agenda to delete the closed session.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that's unanimous.
The only thing I had was to remind everybody of the budget meeting on the 14th at 4:15, but I think maybe you've got something on your table you might want to talk about. It's in that, it looks black and it's bulky.
Oh, yeah, a little bit. Yes. Yeah, you caught me off guard on that one. So, I'm going to have to put this mic down since this clip was broken and I can't wear it, so y'all aren't going to be able to hear me for a minute.
Here, you want to borrow mine?
No, here, it's all right. I'm just going to give it to him.
Okay.
So, Mr. Smith, we have a present for you.
Not for him, it won't fit.
Talking about graduates and graduation, this is appropriate.
Okay.
Class of 2038.
And I pray that we don't have this discussion at class of 2038. I make a motion. Thank you so much.
All right.
I'll make sure we get pictures of him when it.
That'll work. All right, you got any more for you, Dr. Hill?
No, sir. No, sir.
All right, we got out of order here, but that's all right. Comments from us, anything in closing. I appreciate everybody's patience with this graduation stuff. You know, everybody is well aware by now this has been quite a year, and we will have this worked out one way or the other, and, you know, the input has been good. I mean, if you don't tell us, we don't know, and we like to try to do what people want, so appreciate all the input, and just we will get this thing worked out one way or the other. Go around. Ms. Fontana.
Thank you guys for coming tonight, especially my former students. Good to see you guys here tonight. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Smith.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say it. We had one of our former students, Haley Watson, passed away. She was a second grader, had been at Burgaw Elementary School, and currently attending Pender Christian Academy. It's my understanding some of the family members are still attending Burgaw Elementary School, and I would just like to ask the board to remember this family through the suffering they're going through. For a lot of things that we're dealing with, this child will never have a graduation. And so when we put things in that perspective, it really makes it real. And so I just ask the board members to remember that family, the Watson family.
All right, Mr. George.
Yes, I would like to thank everybody also for their patience in trying to navigate through these unusual times, to say the least. I also have a report that a former principal at Topsail High School passed away last night, Larry Poor. He was my principal when I was there. He passed away last night, so keep him, his family, in your thoughts and prayers also, please.
All right, Ms. Burns.
Just wanted to say that still teachers are working so hard on this virtual initiative, and I know parents are working hard too, and everybody's efforts are so appreciated. It's different times we're living in right now. So I think that the only thing I've got to say is let's all try to be a little bit more kind and a little bit more patient with each other. And that's all.
Mr. Chairman, did we decide if we're going to make a motion to write a letter to the governor, or are we just going to not do that?
No, that's, we need to vote on, that has to be voted on specifically as a.
If it's coming from the board, yes.
Resolution.
A resolution?
Is that correct?
Yes. Asking for what?
Well, that'll be in the resolution. You want to make the motion? You have a motion for that you'd like to make?
Yes, sir. I make
Specifically?
a motion that we asked our legal to form a letter to be presented or sent to the Governor Cooper, North Carolina, to ask for the easing of restrictions for large gatherings to assist with graduation plans in the future, to be worded based on Mr. Swartz's proper legal terminology.
All right. We have a second.
Second.
I'll second.
Mr. George is second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Unanimous, as it should be. Thank you. Anything else that we're missing before see, I got out of order on this agenda, and
I think we're done. Except adjournment. We're up to adjournment.
Oh, I didn't forget that one.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to adjourn.
All right. We got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
And we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
And that is unanimous. Thank you.